It is your prisonplanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here in this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. Ladies and gentlemen, I have had my amazing crew working until late last night. Jakari Jackson, David Knight, Rob Dew, the amazing crew in here, Chris Alaniz and the rest of the crew, to bring you the information that we are going to be breaking down here today. We're going to analyze a Bloomberg gun confiscation rally and just analyze the lies, the fraud, and show the mainstream media covering up the rally, saying that once they register our guns, they're going to confiscate them, because that's the blueprint. We've got them handing out the fake signs that the news then claims are grassroots. They point at the signs and say, look, it's grassroots. Once you know the formula, the man behind the curtain, it's so creepy that we've got a city councilman that looks like the Hispanic version of Dr. Evil. I mean, Mike Martinez, another one of these guys that, is a city union head, Capital Metro, light rail, scalping the citizens. And he says, listen, you guys got a sign out there saying don't ban the guns. Well, guess what? We're not banning them today, but what we're doing today will let us get that done. So that sign, you'll need that soon. And this is a guy who hangs around with Bloomberg. The Austin police chief was up there with Biden on TV. I mean, he's like one of the main sellout police chiefs, because most of the sellout police chiefs can't even hardly talk. They just sit up there and, get more obese and collect their paychecks. Arte Zaveda is a slick guy, brought up by the feds out of California, federalizing L.A. He's one of their inside operatives. And now he's taken over Austin and trying to shut down the gun shows, everything. And then he comes over and confronts our cameras and says, we're making stuff up. Nobody wants to confiscate guns. Hey, Aceveda, we got you, okay? And you say you want to come in studio? I can't wait. Let's go ahead and play, though, Mike Martinez, the Bloomberg frontman, mayor pro tem, saying, hey, buddy, to a guy, you got a sign about banning guns? By the way, they were muscling him, cussing at him, and bumping into him while he was there. And the police didn't go over, we have video of this, to the guys getting in his face, cussing at him, and bumping him, the pro-gun guy. They go over and muscle on him with a sign. That's America. Let's go to the clip.
Austin City Council Member Mike Martinez.
Thank you so much. I've got a proclamation on behalf of the Mayor and City Council that we want to present, but I want to say a couple of words, and I'll be brief. First of all, to the gentleman that's dying for attention, someone needs to inform him that there is no gun ban currently, but because of the work that we're doing here today, we will make your sign legitimate shortly. So you hang on to that.
So because of the work we're doing here today, we will make that sign legitimate shortly. We're going to come back with my full report on that in the next segment, because I show clips of where they admit the plan is a total gun ban. Of course it is. Chicago, New York, every other country the globalists control, they armed to the teeth, paramilitary police, surveillance, helicopters, drones, just total pre-crime, domestic tattletale brigades. I mean, direct scripting of 1984. But as long as you call it liberal, it's A-OK. Now, the legislature of New York is calling for, and it's already happening, but they're calling for anyone who's ever been on any type of antidepressant drug, period, which they basically forced the military on, will have your guns taken. That's linked up in the middle column. Under Can Wiener Rise Again, police confiscating firearms from people taking anti-anxiety medication. And then Time Magazine warning others about government oppression is anti-American crap. I thought it was the essence of America. And so I thought I'd dovetail that with all the real government oppression. And then we've got Jakari Jackson in studio along with David Knight with their amazing footage analyzing a victim disarmament tyrant Bloomberg rally, analyzing the enemy. Throughout history, there have been many cases where authoritarians take the restraint of the armed population as weakness instead of restraint, especially by the real warrior class in this country, not the fake warrior class that likes to oppress men, women, and children like North Korean soldiers. And the globalists are trying to convert America over to a system where the supposed warrior class does not protect the peace and defend the republic, but instead ushers in the enslavement of the people. And by any historical yardstick, they had a major university study last year showing the United States the 6th worst police state in the world. Though the United States has a paradox because there's still so many time-honored basic liberties and freedoms that were hard-won by the founders of this country and our veterans and others since then. There's always good and evil. There's always the control freaks. There's always the usurpers trying to take over. Just because they're always trying to take over, because they live off our tax money, they live off the monopolies that they can create for big business, just because they're always pushing, you don't give up. That's the eternal fight that every generation goes through. And this is going to be an unprecedented broadcast today. It is a very important broadcast. We're going to be focusing on the Second Amendment because the second wave since Obama's re-election of the attempt to butcher the Second Amendment is on right now. We are at a razor-thin margin in the Senate with them being able to pass national gun registration, shutting down private sales, felonies if you give your son or daughter a gun or they give you a gun, all sorts of harassment, the ATF being able to shut down gun shops and factories via color of law. The enemy is coming in with their greatest assault ever and will probably provocateur or stage another mass shooting very, very soon in one of the victim disarmament zones that they've created where no one can protect themselves and the children are trained to get in a fetal position to be executed to help the shooter get the maximum death rate while the SWAT team stands down outside so the mercenary group can exfiltrate out the back. Even if you catch them exfiltrating, it's in video of it. Or even if the Department of Defense is running the shooter in Colorado, you know, the general public just cannot get how criminal this operation is we're facing. This is a foreign banking takeover of America. And if you capture the United States completely, you've got all the drones, all the weapons, all the troops, all the aircraft carriers, all the cruise missiles, the new cruise missiles. The ICBMs are basically worthless, folks. The new cruise missiles that are the ultimate weapon in the arsenal on the record. I mean, we are the big enchilada. It's all, and they've got lots of collaborators, lots of arrogant egomaniac yes men that are ready to sell out, and they really think they can win a protracted war. They really think you're going to roll over and turn your guns in. Or they can just do like New York and 15 other states have done, start banning semi-autos, banning high-capacity mags, and then SWAT teaming and persecuting gun owners, veterans, setting up checkpoints on highways and doing knock and talks to catch gun owners with guns they haven't turned in, to then fill the horrible private prisons with the patriots of America. It's not going to work. Let me tell you what's going to happen. Okay, and it's already happening, and they know this. You're going to have cops dead all over the place. It's already happening. You're going to have cops with people that are fed up when you try to take their guns. People aren't just going to wait anymore in their house for you to come get the guns. Okay? These are combat-trained people. Everybody knows it. Okay? And it's going to start a civil war. And that's the plan. That's the false flag. And look, we've got now over 1,000 sheriffs coming out and saying it's tyranny, it's evil. So they introduce a bill that the Secret Service will have law enforcement power in the state of Colorado. They've introduced it in other states to arrest sheriffs. That's civil war right there. But it's not even a civil war. The federal government has been taken over by foreign banks. The sheriffs in some of the states realize that. That's why you've got judges in Texas, state judges, county judges, coming out and saying they're setting up martial law, they're preparing a takeover, a civil war, before Obama got reelected. If you're not getting chills, you don't have a heartbeat out there, ladies and gentlemen. So all of this is going on. All of this is happening. And look at these headlines. I want to show TV viewers this, radio listeners. Go to Infowars.com. Time columnist warning others about government oppression is anti-American crap. That's a quote. There is no oppression. There is no tyranny. And of course, they now admit TSA on the streets, warrantless wiretapping, the police state, the persecution of patriots. But see, they're scared of talking about the 2 billion bullets, the armored vehicles, or the fact that, well, you want our guns while you're arming to the teeth? That's the elephant in the room. That's why they're selling 30-plus guns on the instant check registration system a minute. That's why they're having 70 million guns bought every 2 years now on record. It's more like 100 million. Because it's over, folks. Don't you get it? This isn't Russia with a bunch of poor peasants that never had freedom under the czars. And then a bunch of commies come in and take over and just have a slaughterhouse. Not that the Russians aren't tough people, but they were always under bondage, so they never had a leg up. This is not Nazi Germany. We're sure the Germans were tough and smart, but they were subservient. It's a German thing to do what you're told, to get in line. This is not Nazi Germany. This is not the Chinese peasants who'd been under 5,000 years of tyranny. Strong, smart people, but always enslaved. This is America. This is the Republic, and you haven't chopped all of our huevos off. You haven't destroyed this country completely yet. There's over 100 million people who know who you are. This isn't just a republic, ladies and gentlemen. This is Sparta, if you want to use the 300 analogy. But it's not 300. It's hundreds of thousands in every state who are sitting back, watching what's happening, and everything's being confirmed for them, and they are locked and they are loaded. And I want to tell the Federal Reserve and the New World Order something. You are not going to get away with this. You may be able to kill Ron Paul or kill Alex Jones and wipe out the leadership. And the reason you haven't done that yet is because you know what that'll do. That'll energize us 110%. Okay? We're powering up against your revolution, against our republic. We're energizing. We're rising. That's why you desperately went for the guns. It's why you staged Aurora. It's why you staged Sandy Hook. It's your Gulf of Tonkin. You think you're going to get away with this just because you've got space planes with DU Sabos, just because you've got cruise missiles? All that stuff is worthless against a population. Brzezinski's bemoaned it, your top tactician. You are designed to take down states. You're not designed to take down ideas. You've tried to take men down. You've tried to balkanize America. If you watch MSNBC, that is New World Order, Ford Foundation, Rockefeller Foundation, above the White House, it's panic zone. Everybody fight racially, attack white people. So blacks go out and attack whites all over the country. Then they cover that up. But because it's all, but then they want whites scared to create division at the same time as well. They are hitting the panic button, ladies and gentlemen, for racial division, religious division. But listen. That's why they're going after the guns right now, ladies and gentlemen, as a counter-offensive, because our offensive's winning. The Big Red One is rolling right into Germany, ladies and gentlemen. Battle of the Bulge. What was that, 1943, 1944? They're rolling in, and they're throwing everything they've got to stop us. They're already done. Their only hope is to convince you that you've lost. We have won. I know intellectually. I know historically. I know politically. I know with my street smarts. My whole life, God's been training me. I wonder why all this horrible stuff happened to me growing up. My whole life was preparation for this, ladies and gentlemen. Your whole life was preparation for this. And we're not buying into this. We see it. We know it. We understand it. We know where it's going, and we know the enemy. We know the enemy. We know the enemy. And they are a bunch of slime bags. They're not coming to take our guns. They're trying to steal our guns. They're not admitting they want our guns except in their own internal manuals when they slip up. They're coming to steal our guns. Mike Martinez, involved with the Bloomberg group, the Austin police chief, high level now in the Obama administration. So slick that I told people privately here, Arde Saveda, I said that guy's history in helping them take over major police departments in L.A., I believe that guy's probably deep cover fed. And if he's got the nerve to come in here, I'll talk to him. And now he's up there, not just with the other police chiefs, he's up there with Biden. He's up there with Obama. Up there because he's a good salesman going, we don't want your guns. All we want is to register them and to let, if a psychiatrist says, without any due process, take your guns. And then Martinez gets up and says, you see that guy with a sign over there? Who was silently standing there? So the people were like bumping into him and cussing at him. We're going to play the video up close of this with the cuss words beeped out. Then the police came over and got in on the Americans, on the citizens who were just there holding up their signs silently saying no gun ban. And Martinez says, hey, you that's dying for attention, implying they were causing the disturbance. While the police try to violate their First Amendment with pure, in their little costumes, in their little Captain Hook outfits. We're supposed to, why don't you wear gold crowns, we bow down to you. And he says, we're going to play this when we come back, the whole report. He points at him and he says, we're not taking your guns today. But he goes, what we're doing today, we will then get your guns. I'll make that sign legitimate, so you keep that sign, you're going to need it. I mean, that's it. Imagine, it's not just that they want to enslave us. They're not like an enemy army landing saying we're here. No, it's like Cicero said, the Roman philosopher and historian. The enemy inside that doesn't come with the banner openly unfurled is the plague. And, I mean, I've been around these people, and I've seen them, and they're crazed with the criminal energy. That's what it is to try to steal our Second Amendment and lie about it. With the criminal energy. And that's what makes me just like a dog when it sees a threat, just instinctively, because it's that energy. It's that evil energy. It's an evil energy. They are empowered with it. Rise against them. No, they want to divide us and demonize our liberties as if they're tyrannies. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the report on Mike Martinez, Austin City Council person, minion of Bloomberg, with the police chief. And what you're seeing is treason against this republic. It is sedition, whether he knows it or not. And he shows his inner knowledge of, we're going to get you registered, then we're going to confiscate. Here's the report.
Austin City Council member Mike Martinez.
Thank you so much. I've got a proclamation on behalf of the Mayor and City Council that we want to present, but I want to say a couple of words, and I'll be brief. First of all, to the gentleman that's dying for attention, someone needs to inform him that there is no gun ban currently. But because of the work that we're doing here today, we will make your sign legitimate shortly. So you hang on to that.
Alex Jones here for Infowars Nightly News with a gun owner emergency alert. We sent our reporters out to the Texas Capitol here in Austin to film the Mayor Bloomberg-sponsored event with the Austin police chief calling for the restriction of the Second Amendment, shutting down the gun shows, not having private sales, restricting, quote, high-capacity magazines. And City Councilman Mike Martinez, who's set to be the next mayor, came out and pointed at a man in the audience who had a sign saying, stop the gun ban. And he said, listen, buddy, you're trying to make attention yelling over there. We're going to play the clip here in a moment. He says, that's not happening yet, but once we do this, that is going to happen, to thunderous applause. Everywhere these collectivists have been in control, not just worldwide, but in Chicago, New York, and other areas, they've banned the guns. But first, they register them. First, they register them. And he says to them, hey, we're not banning your guns right now. We're going to do what we're doing now, which is registration, and then we're going to take them. And that's what they've done everywhere, and that's what's so frustrating about this. We have the clip of the Attorney General, back when he was Deputy Attorney General, saying we're going to brainwash the public against guns in the media.
And what we need to do is change the way in which people think about guns, especially young people. One thing that I think is clear with young people and with adults as well is that we just have to be repetitive about this. It's not enough to simply have a catchy ad on a Monday and then only do it every Monday. We need to do this every day of the week and just really brainwash people into thinking about guns in a vastly different way.
And then, of course, we have the clip of Dianne Feinstein on 60 Minutes saying if she had the votes, Mr. and Mrs. America, turn in your semi-autos.
If I could have gotten 51 votes in the Senate of the United States for an outright ban, picking up every one of them Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in, I would have done it.
And after they've gotten those, they're going to take all the rest. The truth is, they're buying billions of bullets. They're buying armored vehicles. This is an authoritarian takeover. And when Obama was a state senator, he was for the total abolition of firearms ownership. The UN treaty they're trying to ratify right now in the Senate does the same thing. And they admit it in our face. Even deep in the heart of Texas, Mr. Martinez gets up and says, basically, after we register your guns, we are going to confiscate them.
I've got a proclamation on behalf of the Mayor and City Council that we want to present, but I want to say a couple of words, and I'll be brief. First of all, to the gentleman that's dying for attention, someone needs to inform him that there is no gun ban currently. But because of the work that we're doing here today, we will make your side legitimate shortly. So you hang on to that.
Mexico has a total gun ban and has had 60,000 gun deaths the last 6 years because only the government and criminals have guns. This Second Amendment is a right of all Americans, and it's despicable that these authoritarians creep around on the news and say, we just want reasonable restriction, register, when they're on record, all of them saying they plan to confiscate all our guns as part of a total government takeover of society. Please get this video out to everyone you know, because they want to act like they're being reasonable and, oh, it's no big deal, when on record, they really want to confiscate all our firearms. Alex Jones reporting for Infowars Nightly News.
Yes, these men and their hypnotized followers call this a new order. It is not new, and it is not order.
Ladies and gentlemen, people like Mike Martinez and Mayor Bloomberg and others are conscious of the fact that it's about state control. He lives behind armed guards. He is behind incredible security at the huge edifice to government worship that is the Austin City Council. And they crave power, they crave uniforms and guns, and they want your guns, your right as a free human. I burn with a desire for liberty for North Korea and Mexico. I love those people. And I burn with defiance against Kim Jong-un and Mike Martinez. I burn with defiance. And at least you're honest, though, that you do plan to confiscate our guns. In fact, I have more respect for you than I do for Art Aceveda. That's what I like, a frontal assault. Our enemy is weak. That's why they creep around and lie and deceive. And then only in private moments did she get caught on C-SPAN, Sarah Brady, more than 15 years ago, saying, we've got to get the registration before the confiscation, before we can create a socialist America. That's a quote. And that's the battle plan. I mean, Bloomberg has taken all of the guns in New York. He is financing people to run for office to take guns in Texas. He is financing TV ads. He is taking Mike Martinez and the Austin police chief and, you know, flying them up to D.C., flying them up to New York. And a lot of it's taxpayer money paid for as well, while Bloomberg has at least 15 guards at any one time, and while all these guys have guns. There's Art Aceveda with a gun on his side at the Capitol that clearly holds 15 rounds, a Glock, maybe even more. And he's saying you shouldn't be able to have that when you've done nothing wrong. And he goes, you're either with us, the police, or with the criminals. See, that's saying you do what we say or you're criminals. That's the psychology. He's giving exact White House talking points. And again, your mayor is probably doing it in your town as well. Because that's what this is all about, total domination. And to have Mike Martinez up there, you know, making a joke, hey, we're not going to take your guns right now. We're going to take them after we finish the work we're doing today, which is not letting you have a gun that isn't registered, not letting you buy a gun where it doesn't go through the database. And I've got a clip we're going to play later in the next hour. Adon Salazar did a report on it where CNN says that no guns are being taken in California from anyone. And they have Larry Pratt on the show. And the guy's sitting there going, we've never taken any guns. No one's taking your guns. And Larry Pratt didn't even know how to respond. So we're going to be playing a clip of that. I mean, this is how crazy it's gotten with their incessant lying. And remember, their followers aren't really authoritarians. The minions really think that guns come out and kill children. These are people that have never been in a fist fight, never gone hunting, think being a man is a bad thing. The men are all beyond effeminate. The women are all these shrieking weirdos, anti-man feminist. I've been to these Million Mom March things. There'll be like 15 of them. They're all government people, all of them, all bureaucrats, all living off us. And they're just crazy-eyed. They worship the state. They worship the uniform. Like when Buzz Bissinger said, we ought to kill Alex Jones. And Piers Morgan goes, yeah, I could wear my brother's uniform. Well, the ambassador's daughter goes, you need to wear a uniform when you do it. I want to be there, baby. And he goes, I could wear my brother's uniform. He's in the military. And we're like, oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah. Then Buzz Bissinger comes out and says, I've spent $600,000 on women's clothes. Ooh, baby, ooh, baby. I'm not kidding. This is who we're talking about. And you're like, oh, you're shocked by me wearing women's clothes. No, I don't care, buddy. I'm going to be looking through my binoculars at nebulas and fish and ponds. I don't care if you shock me by wearing a dress. I'm trillions of light years ahead of you. That's why you're so afraid to die. It's why you're such a degenerate. It's why because you're not tuned into everything. You're a joke. And I want to tell Mike Martinez and Bloomberg and Feinstein and all of you something. I come from a good family. My listeners come from good people and real adversity. And we know the truth. And we know what you are. And you may crave all the power cuddling up to the globalist, competing who can be the slimiest, who can deceive the best, who can get up there like a Pentecostal, preacher and like the police chief going, nobody's going to take your guns. We just want the psychiatrists to be able to do whatever they want. And, you can't have high-capacity mags, and we're going to arrest you for those. See, they don't tell you all that. It's all reasonable. We just don't want killers to get guns. Adam Lanza, who supposedly got the guns from his mother, who went through all these background checks and registry to get it, and so now they're just going to ban those guns in Connecticut. What are you going to ban? X-Acto knives in this sick culture where every show is about a serial killer, every show is about murder and death, and all these weak people get into it and are fascinated by it? And I always notice they're just these arrested people. If you'd ever been around real violence, real death, you wouldn't think it was so cute anymore. Don't worry, though. Whatever civilizations visualize, they end up manifesting. And we're going to manifest hell on earth because we've let the worst people get control and then sit there and lecture us and tell us that we are the ones responsible for the deaths of the children there, and they personalize those children. While hundreds of thousands get brain damaged every year, thousands die from the vaccines, the fluoride in the water, the tap water, you can almost light it on fire. In fact, it's lit on fire before in Houston. You're just drinking that, the cancer rate's going straight up, but none of that's personalized. None of that's brought out on the news. Unless it's, oh, look at the cancer victim, the young child. Why are all the kids getting cancer? Gee, we don't know. Give money to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They'll find a cure. By the way, here's a polio vaccine full of 5 or 6 different deadly cancer viruses that'll bond to your child's DNA with the RNA and kill them. How's that sound? And this is the type of stuff we're talking about here. So I want to go over some articles and then to this KHOU report, because you just heard, and next hour I got my reporters in there. We're going to play more behind the scenes where they're handing out the fake signs to then say they were all grassroots. Where they're coming over and intimidating people, saying they can't have a sign, that's pro-gun, and then blaming them, saying they're disruptive. And the police chief coming over and saying, you tell Alex to get it straight and get his story straight. Nobody wants to take his guns. Yeah. And I'm a Chinese jet pilot from Pluto, buddy boy. Don't you get it? I see you. You play your game, how there's no armored vehicles. By the way, guess who's on the Cap Metro board who authorized TSA? No other cities except New York, Chicago, L.A., Detroit, collapsed globalist areas, have TSA on the street. They now sneak them out so I can't go confront them. But every week they pop up somewhere downtown and just stop cars, go to buses, go to trains, dig through bags without warrants. Mike Martinez. They want the guns, folks. You know what you should be worried about? They've been told by the higher-ups, you get those guns and you get them now. What do you think they've got planned? That they know that the drugged-out, entertainment-out America will wake up. That they know and are saying to the military, get ready for a civil war years ago. Gearing up, spying on everybody, trying to find out what military will follow orders. They're running around like people on the deck of a sinking ship trying to get to lifeboats right now. Most of the elite are leaving and going to armored islands offshore. That's been reported on in mainstream news. They're acting like, because they can't believe they're stealing $85 billion a month, but they can't help themselves. They can't believe that they're killing thousands of babies a month that are already born in America by dehydrating them. They can't believe every hospital in the country that's government-controlled is murdering people right now who are begging for water. You're like, well, that sounds a little radical. Is that? Look up the Wall Street Journal series, Wesley Smith on it. They can't believe they're getting away with this, so of course they're arming. The wicked flee when none pursue. Because they understand, they can calculate and go, you know, the black uniforms don't intimidate them. We're flooding the borders wide open, bankrupting everything, but still they've got guns. Even if we vote to take them, they know we're tyrants. What do we do? And the elite are offshore giving their orders. You take care of them. You take care of them, Bloomberg. You take care of them, Mike Martinez. You take care of them. You take care of them. And in all the police manuals, I was watching a Southern Poverty Law Center one last night. In fact, we may play it later. It's on YouTube. And they're like, the police are like, you need to know these people are ready to die. They're not going to turn their guns in. I'm the police chief of West Memphis, and they killed the other officer and my son, and they will kill you. So you got to get after them. Yeah, that's what you need to do. Get after people that are willing to die. Start a fight with people that are... That went real well for the Mexican government in Mexico, didn't it? Who's got their clock completely cleaned by other cartels that want the money. They're like, hey, you think you can kill people, Mexican government? You think you're the El Jefe? We're the El Jefes because we worship the Grim Reaper. Well, you know who I worship? The King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, Jesus Christ. And that's who our founders worshiped, and they kicked the biggest empire's butt the world had ever seen that nobody could beat. And they lost almost every battle, but they persevered and were ready to die and ready to kill. And so they couldn't be beaten. The Iraqis, ladies and gentlemen, are known for their courage, but not for their shooting abilities. Okay? That's a joke in the military. But the whole point is 100,000 troops in Baghdad couldn't hold it. Okay? So here's the deal. That's why you see Biden and all of them always talking about all the weapons they've got and how powerful they are. And, you know, and you got Sharpton and Rangel saying, we got drones now. Forget your Second Amendment. Yeah, I know it's there to protect against a bad government. Doesn't matter. We got the drones now. Oh, like you're part of the establishment up there, Al Sharpton. Wonder how many of your family died from vaccines they were given. Did you get a memo, Al, not to drink the Diet Coke or the tap water? The only time you mean something, the only time you become somebody is when you join liberty and stop being a race-baiting pimp. But these people are defeated. They've already lost. If their system comes in, if the New World Order succeeds, population reductions of at least 80%. Bankrupted future. People like Mike Martinez are going to have to look at the poverty around them. Don't you think all the El Jefes in Mexico who've strangled it for hundreds of years and not let their people ever get ahead, do you think they recognize how they've destroyed their own culture and are ensuring the destruction of their own progeny down the road? No, they're thinking about how they can dominate and shut people down now because watching other people be successful is a burr in their saddle. And so they think you're stupid. They're going to creep around and say, we don't want your guns. That's a conspiracy theory. There's a new clip of Biden saying the black helicopter crowd thinks, you know, we want their guns. They're crazy. Oh, no, Biden, you just voted for the original assault weapons ban back in the early 90s that would confiscate all semi-autos. And Feinstein's on tape saying, if I could have gotten that bill, Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in. And then they'll take all the others like they always do. So let me show you some articles here. Here it is. Columnist, Time columnist, warning others about government oppression is anti-government crap. It doesn't exist. Klein supports democide, but says you are paranoid if you question government. That's right. It's anti-American to question government. That's, of course, 180 degrees the opposite direction. DHS contractor apologizes for selling shooting targets of children. DHS paid them $2 million for targets of 5-year-old children and pregnant women to target them to kill them. Remember that? Oh, here's Forbes. How the U.S. military would crush a Tea Party rebellion. Another sheriff has come out with their internal training the feds gave them, where it's all about crushing patriots and sheriffs, and they tell the sheriffs, in these meetings, the feds do, we know a lot of you are with the rebellion, and we're going to get you. That's a new article by Kurt Nemo. I told you, cops, when you go to this, you're being assessed by an offshore bank mercenary. That's not Alex Jones rhetoric. That is 100% Veritas beamed directly to you. That's why the enemy with their fake memes all day says, I'm not real, hoping you don't go check into what I'm saying to find out it's real. Because the fact that I'm real gives you aid and comfort that you're real. And we give each other strength to stand against this enemy. That's why they can't have anybody believe Alex Jones isn't New World Order or isn't CIA or isn't with the Koch brothers or any of this bull. They have to do that. The spirit of evil has to do that because it can't ever let anybody know there's other real souls out there. But you know your soul's real. You know you're good. You know liberty beats in your breast. You know when tyrants menace you, it makes you angry and makes you want to resist them. You know you're not a coward. You know you have the animating spirit of liberty in your heart and soul and mind. You feel the presence of God. These people run from you. They want you dead. All those that hate me love death. How the military would crush a Tea Party rebellion, bullets, for kids, training manuals, Homeland Security youth brigades. Look at this. DHS-funded course asks cops if they will confiscate guns from Christians. Colorado troopers trained to consider Christians as dangerous terrorists. Don't believe Kurt Netto, Infowars.com, or the sheriff, or the troopers that have gone public in this article? Look right here. Army labeled evangelicals and religious groups as extremists, including all Catholics, all evangelicals, Fox News. They had Baptist preachers at this anti-gun rally in Austin using the deep Luciferian terms for Lucifer. We got that clip coming soon, too. Ladies and gentlemen, the enemy is making its move as a desperate battle of the bulge counter-offensive against us. You need to understand. They're going for everything right now, and this is their moment of danger. And that's why they're hoaxing and losing all their credibility, because it doesn't matter. Once they set off a nuke or something and bring in martial law, they plan on trying to arrest us. They need to get the troops and military ready to go out in phalanxes against us. That's why you've got to emergency transmit now. They're going to take over the cell phones, the data, all of it, pumping government bull once they drop the hammer. But take heart, ladies and gentlemen, the only future is resisting them, and if they think with their actuaries and computer programs they're not going to win, they'll back off. Now, I want to go to this KHOU piece. You just heard the unedited tape where the city councilman said he's going to get our guns after he registers them. Then they show Mike Martinez. They go, no one's going to take your guns, and Martinez said so. And the Houston TV station cuts to him saying no one's going to take your guns. Imagine the psyops. And they imply the pro-gun people were causing trouble when it was the other way around. Here's that clip.
Rally for tougher gun laws becomes a heated debate when gun rights advocates bring a message of their own. The Night Beat's Shannon Murray is live at the state capitol with our top story.
Jade, that's right. About 100 people showed up at the Capitol today for the Texas Rally for Gun Sense. And although they were briefly interrupted by gun rights activists, organizers of the rally say that their message today is not about banning guns.
They were not interrupted. That was not about guns.
Dozens of demonstrators fighting for stricter gun laws.
We talk a lot about this issue. We need to do something about it.
Dozens of bureaucrats want your guns.
Among the speakers at Saturday's rally, people whose lives have been touched by gun violence.
She could have fought him off. She would have won if he hadn't had the gun.
No, your daughter should have had a gun.
Universal background checks, limiting assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. And they oppose bringing any guns on a school campus.
I used to just be a mom, and now I'm a mom and an activist.
Hillary Rand is with Moms Demand Action.
Yeah, make sure the schools are shooting clubs for psychos.
I couldn't go on with daily life without trying to make things better.
Neither can we.
Activists interrupted the rally, bringing their own message front and center.
I'm all for stopping crime, but I'm a big supporter of the Second
Hit pause right there. We're going to go to break. Back it up 50. They keep saying they interrupted. They interrupted. These guys, we have all the footage. Totally calm, standing there, hold up their signs. They come over, cuss at them, push on them. The police come over. And then don't worry, though, the media will cover up for you and say that the pro-gunners were bad. And we come back, Arde Saveda, is up there doing his preacher bit. We don't want your guns. And then they go, see, even Martinez says nobody wants your guns. And then they cut to him saying, that sign's going to be needed and legitimate soon because we're coming for your guns. But they trim it down, and that's all part, that's KVUE, but it also aired in Houston. That's why I originally got it from Houston. That's a local Austin station. Sitting there, showing how masterful they are, because if you show you can lie better, maybe you'll get a job in New York. like taking the truth of them saying we're going to get your guns after we register them, just saying no one wants your guns, and the pro-gun people caused a disturbance. Bad boys. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back live, and we're going to have my two reporters with us with breaking news and really showing the manufactured consent that goes on at an anti-gun, victim disarmament, foreign banker-funded collaborator meeting. That's what it is. I mean, we're sitting here watching history happen. People always think of the tyrant that looks like Hitler or Stalin that came before, or Napoleon. You know, 30 years later, you're looking for a guy that looks like Napoleon. But every new tyrant, every new attack looks different. But it's always the same about enslaving and taking control of the society. And that's what it is. The governing class and the corporations that have grown up around it, they want us enslaved. Briefly, if you believe in what we're doing and want to get the word out, go to InfoWarsStore.com. We've got a new T-shirt. We have the AK-47 with the Keep and Bear Arms inside of it. Come and take it. Now we have that as well, but an M16 with the Second Amendment inside of it and the Come and Take It. And it's red, white, and blue, and that helps get the word out and support the broadcast. And I see the T-shirts all over the country, not just here in Austin, Texas now. So good job, everybody, supporting us and supporting freedom by getting these T-shirts. The Pro Pure water filters, 10% off with promo code WATER. Lowest price out there on the best systems available, period. Look at the side-by-side comparisons at InfoWarsStore.com, or call toll-free to talk to our crew and operators, 888-253-3139. So if you just tuned in, we're going to play this in the next hour again. Mike Martinez, part of the Bloomberg crew, with the police chief in Austin, who's up with Obama right now calling for restrictions. So these are, you know, globalist operatives here. They are openly saying, oh, look, the pro-gunners disrupted us, when we're going to show you the truth. And, oh, we don't want to take your guns. And the news media even shows the clip where he admits after we register, we're going to try to confiscate. So, yeah, we are coming for your guns. But then they cut to it and act like he never said that. So here is the rest. It's on the KHLU website, but I guess it's from KVUE here in Austin. Here it is.
Formed after the school shooting in Connecticut.
I couldn't go on with daily life without trying to make things better.
Two gun rights activists interrupted the rally, bringing their own message front and center.
I'm all for stopping crime, but I'm a big supporter of the Second Amendment.
He disrupted nothing.
It's the cornerstone of our freedom.
This activist, who goes by Texas George, says he does not believe more gun control is the answer.
All that does is give the law-abiding citizen a disadvantage.
The crowd quickly stood up and tried to block their signs. Law enforcement even stepped in.
Law enforcement.
It's time to speak up against people who are perpetrating things that just aren't true.
Perpetrating.
Nobody wants to ban guns here.
Austin City Councilman Mike Martinez even addressed the two men, saying the message on their sign is incorrect.
We will make your sign legitimate shortly, and you hang on to that. In this country, we can agree.
That's enough. We'll play more later to show the live with the report. We only got about a minute and a half. Sha'Carri Jackson, David Knight, you were at this rally a few days ago. What is it like to see the media spin like that and lie like that?
I thought it was incredible. That's my first time seeing that clip. I didn't know that they had that type of spin on it. Because if you show the whole clip, which we do here at Infowars, you clearly see the guy is out there peacefully protesting silently for the most part. Yeah. Now, the taller gentleman who was with him, when Martinez addressed him, he addressed Martinez back. And I do believe we have a clip we'll show our viewers here in a little bit where a guy started cussing and yelling at the two guys who were standing, you know, peacefully with their sign. But the media spin is they were out there interrupting and barging in on this protest when they were doing nothing of the sort.
But, I mean, what about saying no one wants to take your guns when Martinez basically said, yeah, we're going to register now and then get them. You'll need that sign.
Oh, yeah, just like the lady said, they show the lady, and maybe that was her view, but, you know, they show the clip of Martinez was saying, yes, I'm going to take your guns, and you're going to need that sign very soon because we're going to take your guns.
Well, they edited his comments to make it sound that way.
It's just incredible. Yeah, no one wants your guns, and then they spin the Martinez clip to deceive their viewers. Right. I mean, you guys work in news. They had to work to be deceptive.
Yeah.
We try to tell the truth. I mean, so much work went into that, folks, because they think you're an idiot. They're an enemy operation. All right, folks, I've got my reporters, David Knight and Sha'Carri Jackson, in studio with us. I know that XM and some other stations join us in the first hour, but also in the second and third. So some stations are joining us now. And, gentlemen, how would you recap for people that just tuned in the state of the all-out war on the Second Amendment and then watching the microcosm of how the Bloomberg, Wall Street, I mean, it's the corporations trying to take our guns so they can get all the corporate welfare. watching the Bloomberg machine here in Austin is a microcosm for the rest of the country, and the solid wall of deception. And then Martinez gets off script, the mayor pro tem, and says, well, we're going to register now, then we'll get your guns later. David Knight?
Yeah, there's a lot of deception with this. The whole thing is based on deception and saying, if you believe this, you're a conspiracy theorist and you're paranoid. But when you really scratch them, when you get them really upset, when you get them fired up, they say something like Martinez did. And what you can see with this crowd shot that we've got there is something that's exactly the opposite of what KHOU had. KHOU was saying that it was these two Second Amendment activists who were disrupting the crowd, but they were just silently standing there, and it was the crowd that was crowding around them and holding signs in front of them and in back of them. We got a clip of that, and we got a clip of the guy talking. He was very calm. And it was a guy in the back that started screaming profanities at a really loud voice. And at that point, Arcevedo and the other cops converged on these two guys. And they were watching them. They weren't watching to protect them from the other crowd.
And this has happened to me, and this whole Bloomberg group is just all under globalist control and city control. It's happened to me all over the country where they have somebody come over and yell and scream, and then the cops come in on you, and then later you see that person leave with them.
Well, it's very telling because, you have Bloomberg with his demand plan. And these are moms who demand an action. I mean, it's all coming from the same people. It's the same attitude, and it's the nanny state.
First you get the women, then you've got the children, so follow the men, Adolf Hitler.
They're making demands on us, and it's the nanny state, this kind of nanny attitude. And, of course, they're going to be natural allies with moms, who are going to kind of fit into that whole nanny state thing.
Well, there's another name. They're called house slaves.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's the Roman model. I mean, I've got the manuals. These are house slaves. They're there. The government's their buddy, and they're going to tell the men what to do.
Right.
I mean, the Bible says the ultimate tyranny, women will be set on top of you. I mean, that's what this is. Nothing against women. The women get totally enslaved in it. Look at where women are in this society. Totally depressed, pure sex objects now, the opposite of what they claim they didn't want to be. Jakar, we're going to break. Tell us about some of the clips we've got coming up at the great cruise in there running.
Well, coming up, we have the clip David was just alluding to where the crowd starts yelling at the two guys who were peacefully protesting, and Acevedo and some other police officers come in. And also, we'll show you some crowd comparisons to this most recent Moms Demand action rally versus some of the other ones.
That is banker collaborators demand we be their slaves.
Yeah, they're saying that they don't want your guns, but when Martinez says, yeah, we're going to take your guns, everybody starts cheering and clapping. And we have more. We have Acevedo's view on registration, and Acevedo also criticizing constitutional sheriffs. I think that's going to be a
but then after we do that, we'll play Biden saying, oh, the Secret Service is coming to get you. The bill says they'll have law enforcement power in the states and go after people, sheriffs that don't do what they're told. And then they just hope you don't. In fact, I had that in yesterday's stack. Can somebody from the crew get me the article about, I think it was a Kurt Nimmo article, Secret Service prepares, I think it was Colorado up in arms over bill to send Secret Service after sheriffs. And the sheriffs are speaking up.
It's Hickenlooper in Colorado. Governor Hickenlooper is pushing, is on the side of that bill.
But I mean, what do you call that when they just lie about everything?
Deception. That's the only term I could come up to describe that.
Well, it's propaganda. It's the sort of thing where you tell, it doesn't matter what you say as long as you repeat it enough and loudly enough, and you ridicule the other side.
Well, that's another Hitler quote.
Yeah, right. Right. And so it doesn't matter that we link to the documents, right?
Doesn't matter it's on the federal government's own site. Doesn't matter it's a bill being debated in Colorado. Biden gets up and goes, that doesn't exist.
They do the same thing the moms did. They hold their signs up in front of it that say something else. Well, the same thing they did to the Second Amendment.
Well, they yell at you and bump into you, and then the cops come over onto you.
Right.
Pretty much, yeah.
Can you imagine how they're going to act once they get our guns? I mean, they're literally going to have us in slave camps. They've said they are. We'll be back with the city councilman saying we'll get your guns after registration. Ladies and gentlemen, a full-out, total 360-degree attack is going on in the entire Bill of Rights. States' rights, First Amendment, Second Amendment. They're arresting people all over the country for filming police in public. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years in jail. $85 billion a month to foreign banks. They can't believe they've gotten away with this. And now they're going full-tilt boogie, just using the 20 dead children, ignoring, medical neglect, killing hundreds of thousands a year, all the rest of it, the drones killing hundreds of children a week, and just saying it's your fault, gun owners. You need to give us your guns, and just be reasonable. We don't want your guns, even though everywhere we get control after we register, we do take them. I mean, look at New York. They've taken everybody's guns. Chicago. Look at Europe. It's the same plan. Register, then confiscate. And City Councilman Mike Martinez, Mayor Pro Tem, fast track with Bloomberg, just like our police chief who was there with him, if you're listening around the country. Yesterday, press conferences with Biden. I mean, he's up there talking, folks. He's not just a police chief behind him, because he is slick. I've said privately, either this guy is a silver-tongued psychopath or he's actually a good guy. But I said, I think he's a bad guy. And I've said that. I've even told him that in the hallway. And he's like, no, I'm not. I came from Cuba and tyranny. I don't want to live under it. But the fact is, Acevedo knows what he's doing. And he may have lied to himself or whatever. Well, this is the way it's going. I'll just go along with it. But my crew was there. And this is a guy being brought in by Bloomberg really to be one of the main spokesmen against us now. Because Austin is a key city, ladies and gentlemen. Fastest growing, wealthiest in the country per capita. The heart of Texas. It's part of the UN Agenda 21. They call it the Tri-City map to take over the state via Austin. It's the capital. And this video, I'm going to have our reporters break it down because we've got 8 clips here and 8 different angles of deception. But David Knight, who was there with Jakari Jackson, this was this weekend. And we finally got around to looking at the footage a few days ago as the guys have been busy with other news. Break down, well, first let's play the clip, and then we'll get David Knight and Jakari Jackson's take on it, and then walk through these other clips. But here is the Austin City Council member to a guy that has a sign, for new listeners, saying, stop gun ban. And he says, hey, we're not going to ban guns right now. This is not an assault. This is not a Tet offensive. You know, don't run, we are your friends. This is not an assault at the Waco compound. But after we do this, which is gun registration, you will need that sign because we are going to do that. You'll need that sign to which the crowd roars. And Martinez has already said, shut down the gun shows, you know, ban the guns before. So this is their plan. They say it all the time, but then they tell you, oh, that's not our plan. So they're not trying to take our rights. They're trying to steal them under the radar, which just shows the despicable nature. But Martinez loved to brag. Who loves to brag? Scum. They always love to tell you, and it's just like in the cartoons with the bad guy, you know what I'm going to do to you now? And they give the plan. That's really how it works. It's in criminology. Now let's go ahead and play this clip.
Austin City Council member Mike Martinez.
Thank you so much. I've got a proclamation on behalf of the Mayor and City Council that we want to present, but I want to say a couple of words, and I'll be brief. First of all, to the gentleman that's dying for attention, someone needs to inform him that there is no gun ban currently. But because of the work that we're doing here today, we will make your sign legitimate shortly. So you hang on to that.
All right, and there's the thunderous Jones here for applause. And then it goes into the rest of my report showing more of them saying it. You can go to Infowars.com and see all of our articles. You can also go to DrudgeReport.com. We're in New York. They're now announcing they're going after everyone who's ever been on any type of antidepressant meds or meds, period, that are seen as anti-anxiety. And this is how it is. Get you in the system, then declare you mentally defunct. It's happening to the veterans. It's going to happen to everybody now. This is the full authoritarian takeover to persecute gun owners and libertarians. Okay, guys, Jakari Jackson, David Knight, walk through these clips. You've got the floor.
Well, we've got a couple of things here. First, to kind of talk about the crowd. We're going to talk about what Acevedo said when he attacked constitutional sheriffs and when he talks about, are we on the slippery slope with registration? We've got a couple of clips about that. But first, we wanted to show the crowd. So we got this, let's throw this first clip here showing what really happened with that Second Amendment supporter there at that crowd.
Okay. Say, believe in your Second Amendment, Bill of Rights, and realize that's what made this country great. And it's not about taking guns away from people. That's not going to do anything to stop crime. They need...
First of all, to the gentleman that's dying for attention, someone needs to inform him that there is no gun ban currently. But because of the work that we're doing here today, we will make your sign legitimate shortly. So you hang on to that.
That lady just poked him.
Yeah, you see that guy cussing out.
Yeah.
Hey, folks.
He's saying, F you, a-hole. That guy right there.
Yeah, you can see him.
He's the instigator.
The issues that are...
Right.
Wait, I've seen him before.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I've had, oh, these are all.
This is the, Acevedo comes down and gets around them, and now you'll see the police converge on these guys.
Look at Acevedo bugging his eyes out. And that,
look at this. As he moves from one side to the other.
They're trying to cover his sign.
Front and back.
And
they say that's the guy who's interrupting.
get tough on the criminals.
No, I mean, they physically assault him. I mean, that lady really kind of a punch. Boom. You know how a woman will peck at you? That was a peck right there. She came in with a little pecker and, you know, pecked him.
You see the cops right there.
Yeah. Boy, that guy looks tough, that pro-gun guy.
Yeah. Yeah, so you saw the guy.
These idiots have no idea, because they're not going to stop. They're already announcing our kids are theirs. They just want a war. I tell you, they're going to get it, too.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm telling you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you saw the two guys, the pro-gun guys, were out there peacefully protesting. Now, when Martinez addressed them, they addressed Martinez back. And then you saw the younger guy behind them started yelling and cussing, and we had to bleep it out for our viewers. But they were saying, you know, F words and you a-hole and all this stuff to the guys.
Really loud.
Oh, yeah, real loud.
Yeah.
And then the cops come converge on the two guys who are minding their own business, not the young guy who's yelling and cussing.
Well, you've seen people that have gone out to these illegal immigration rallies where millions of illegals, in some cases hundreds of thousands, but millions total are marching. I've got it in Endgame, the extra. And the guy is simply there protesting himself peacefully, and the cops beat him, blood's coming out his face, and the illegals come over and taunt and join in, and the cops are like high-fiving them. I mean, this is a takeover, folks. Yeah. And again, it's not to empower the illegals either. It's just all a takeover.
When you look at this, you see what their attitude toward the First Amendment is. You see what their tolerance is. I mean, they're making demands on everybody, and they don't have any respect for the First Amendment even when they have respect for the Second Amendment. And what they're doing with this guy in terms of standing in front of him and blocking him front and back is the same thing that Biden and these other guys are doing when we try to get the truth out there about the ammunition purchases and everything. They just hold up more signs in front of us and say, oh, you're crazy.
It'd be like if you came up to the bank, an old lady came up and saw guys in masks with bags of money, and she said, are you robbing the bank? And you're like, he's wearing a mask. He goes, no, ma'am, we're not. I mean, it's that level. Jakari?
Yeah, it shows that they want their voice to be heard, their angle to be heard, but if you have a differing opinion, they just completely shut them down.
You're absolutely right. What's the next clip?
Well, the next one we got is kind of a thing about, go ahead, Jakari, you talk about it.
Oh, well, this one, the next clip is about somebody asked Acevedo, or he brings up the statement about the gun crime in Chicago. And he said, I'm tired of people bringing up gun crime in Chicago as, you know, a reason why they need their guns. So if we have that clip ready, we can go ahead and play.
This is amazing. Go ahead.
And I'm tired of people saying this to the American people. If gun laws are so good and so effective, why is there so much gun violence in Chicago? Why is there so much gun violence in Philadelphia? I will tell you why. Because those guns are coming out from other parts of the country where we have a loophole that's bigger than the Grand Canyon. That's where those guns are coming from.
David, with regard to guns, we need to take away the reason that people are shooting one another.
That's right, and that's the key.
In Chicago, the superintendent of police says 80% of the killings are from gangs fighting over the control of drugs.
Exactly.
Doesn't that tell us something?
Yes.
So if you want to talk about the control of drugs or you want to talk about guns, you need to take away the reason that the people are using the drugs and why the people are buying and using the guns.
And that's a former prosecutor you interviewed, but I just want to say this about Acevedo. Why don't we have that crime rate here? Because loophole guns could come here. It's because it's a... Go ahead, Jakari.
No, that's the exact point. Like David brought up the point that if, let's say they are getting their guns from Texas or wherever else, then we should have at least the same amount of crime that they have in Chicago.
Every one of these liberal cities is not liberal. These are mafia families. They bring in the drugs, the whores, the corruption, and then that's all that can... And the criminals all move there because less than half the murders get solved there. Well, Chicago's the place to go bust in houses and rape women.
By his argument, we should have a high crime rate because we have free access to guns. So it should be high or higher. But the other thing is that he wants to invoke Chicago. We've got a former prosecutor who was there for 43 years as a Cook County prosecutor.
In Chicago.
In Chicago. And he quotes the current Chicago police chief saying that 80% of the shootings in Chicago are because of drugs.
And you interviewed him last week. Give people his name.
Right. His name is Jim Gierach, and he's with Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. It's former prosecutors and former...
And you can just see in his eyes, he's a caring, loving, good person. And then you look in the eyes of Martinez or Bloomberg, these are evil, power-tripping villains. I mean, you know a bad guy when they're that bad. They don't want to hide it. I mean, these are bad people. I mean, it's just like, come on.
When we look at the gun statistics that Piers Morgan puts out there, it needs to be said that the majority, like he said in Chicago, 80% of these gun shootings are because of drug prohibition.
And then they say, well, you don't care because it's the gangs. No, but gangbangers killing each other over government shipped-in drugs. Don't take my guns.
That's right. That's right. But they want to turn it against legitimate peaceful gun.
Well, we've also got the statistic of the 49% drop in violent crime in the last 20 years. That's the big secret, where the guns are. Jakari, tell us what's coming up after the break, the other clips.
After this break, we'll have a comparison of crowds to the moms, to some other events, and also Acevedo as he criticizes constitutional sheriffs, and Acevedo's view on gun registration, and much more.
And continuing with guns, we've got the head of the amazing, of the rock stars to me, the Veritas Project, you know, the folks that blew up Acorn politically. They went out
to say politically, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, they blew them up. They absolutely destroyed them. Now they've gone to the house of Piers Morgan, and guess what? He's got armed guards. I mean, these hypocrites make me want to throw up. Alex Jones here, back live. You know, I wanted to believe in Chief Arte Acevedo, and I think he's been in studio with me 3 or 4 times over the years. But I was like, if this guy's an operative, he's going to go to the top. This guy may be deep cover. And I'd said that to a lot of people behind the scenes here. And then they all agreed. But now, I mean, he's like in the bosom of Obama. And he came out of the Justice Department as, you know, as a state police officer, as one of their operatives spying on the police there. And I'm not against checks and balances, federal, state. It's just that there's no checks now. It's the feds only taking over the state. Jakari, David Knight, you guys were at this 15 bureaucrat march, a Million Mom March, 15 bureaucrat march. You know, the wives and husbands of city council people and state bureaucrats and federal bureaucrats get into the fake signs. I've seen this at the UN where they have all the fake signs, they hand them out. That's the next clip, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the next clip.
Tell us about that.
Well, as we got there, my wife was there, and she just recorded some of it with her iPhone. And basically, they had handwritten signs that they were handing out to people. And we wanted to contrast that with the Day of Resistance, which was a pro-Second Amendment rally that was really a grassroots organization. And, you know, when they start doing things like this, the first thing that comes to mind is AstroTurf. You know, and quite frankly, this Moms Demand a Plan is very well financed. Their website is really top-notch. I mean, you know, obviously when you look at the Day of Resistance, it was something that was thrown together.
No, it's a known Bloomberg front.
So we want to take a look at this. We got a clip of them handing out. Let's go to that.
This was fantastic. I have to tell you, we really missed Alex here today. It was a great crowd, maybe 200 to 2,500 people.
That's correct.
It was just jam-packed with people who
Sheriff Mack.
Yes, Sheriff Mack.
Dedicated to the holy cause of liberty,
2,000
as Patrick Henry called it.
This is the Day of Resistance, and you can see the real signs right there, real people.
That looks like 1,000 or more. I wasn't there. How many thousands?
They showed up with their own signs. I mean, they had them in the back of their trucks. There's a grandmother, mother, NRA life member.
Now, this is the most recent.
A staggering figure that surpasses other developments.
And listen here.
You're welcome.
Thank you for making them.
Thank you for holding them. So they're handing out signs.
And they're all done looking different.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just...
it's something, you know, if you go to a Romney rally or a Ron Paul rally, they've got signs they hand out to people, and it's obviously that they're printed up, right? People are holding that. That's
they're all uniform. Then it's not deceptive. It's Ron Paul, boom, you know.
Right, but you know, make up a lot of different...
But if Ron Paul had a whole bunch of different ones that looked like they were grassroots and was fake, I mean, it'd be a scandal.
Yeah, you can see, like, that's the... you can see all the signs they have on the table right there.
For radio listeners, you can watch us right now streaming video at prisonplanet.tv. This will be archived later in the day at prisonplanet.tv and then tomorrow at Infowars.com for radio listeners. But this is powerful info because it shows it's all a fraud.
Right.
Well, that's something that bears some more investigation about whether it's AstroTurf or not.
Exactly, exactly. We have more clips to get to. Our next clip is Acevedo as he criticizes constitutional sheriffs, people like Sheriff Mack. So if the guys are ready with that clip, we can get that rolling.
Let's go to that clip.
You can't say that you stand for the Constitution as an elected sheriff law enforcement official that's part of the executive branch, invoke the Constitution in terms of the Second Amendment and turn around and absolutely ignore the rest of our 200 years of law that talks about the separation of powers. You are the executive branch, whether you like it or not. Your job is to enforce the law as passed by the legislative branch, as interpreted by the judicial branch, as it's carried out by the executive branch, and to say otherwise is hypocrisy. God bless you all. Thanks for being here.
If you analyze the statistics honestly, I think you'll see that it is better to have a gun. However, those are immaterial. Those arguments mean nothing when you live in a country where the supreme law of the land completely and entirely forbids gun control in this country. All forms of gun control are against the law here. In my book, The Magic of Gun Control, there's a chapter that says gun control in America is against the law. We're going to need local officials, especially sheriffs, to tell the federal government there's just a few things you're not going to do do in our county, and one of them is gun control. It's against the law.
All right, again, a lot of crowd noise there, but, I mean, talk about what Acevedo is saying there. And again, we have a clip after the break. Biden is running around saying the black helicopter people think we're going to send the Secret Service into your states. They've got bills introduced that they're trying to ram through where they will send them in to go after sheriffs. I mean, it's just the same. It's a military tactic. We're not trying to take your guns, even though we are. There are no bullets. There is no bill for Secret Service to come into your state. I mean, they lie to you because you are seen as an enemy. This standard military operation.
Well, it's very interesting to see what Acevedo is doing. What he's doing is he's taking a system of checks and balances that wasn't just at the federal level. There were checks and balances, you know, where the people have a check and balance. They have the Second Amendment. They've got jury nullification. The states have a check and a balance against the federal government. And what he's doing is he's taking away that system of checks and balances, and he's trying to substitute a rigid hierarchy that is federally based. And that's what his speech was about. That's why he attacked the constitutional sheriffs.
All right, we've got our next guest coming up, but I want you guys to stay over and finish that last clip and, you know, talk about what we're facing here. But the big news is, and the video's up at Infowars.com, of the Austin City Councilman who's hooked in with Bloomberg saying, we're going to register, then we're going to confiscate, and the crowd sharing. That video is coffin nails politically to these people. Stay with us. I'm Alex Jones, Infowars.com. Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, we are here live. The news websites are Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.tv. I am your host again, Alex Jones. David Knight and Jakari Jackson are in studio here with me right now, and they went to the Mayor Bloomberg sponsored and run Trader Convention a few days ago, and then Art Acevedo went up to be with Obama and Biden as one of their poster people calling for restrictions of the Second Amendment. And Councilman Mike Martinez said to people that had signs saying no gun ban, stop gun ban, he said, hey, we're not going to do that now. We're getting them registered now, but you're going to need that sign soon because we are going to do what's on your sign. And laughs at him, and the crowd cheers. And then in my report that's up on Infowars.com, show Feinstein saying the same thing. I mean, it's the disingenuousness of them. And I want to play a clip of Biden here before we go back to the other 3 short clips and then go to the head of the Project Veritas, James O'Keefe, who sent reporters out to the home of Piers Morgan, who has an armed response sign, meaning he has armed guards. So he uses guns to protect himself, but you shouldn't be able to. The all-out assault by these kleptocrats is accelerating right now. But here's Biden saying he's used to disinformation campaigns. See, Forbes, how the U.S. military would crush a Tea Party rebellion. DHS-funded course asked cops if they'll confiscate guns from Christians. I mean, that's in the Colorado newspapers. Fox News, Army labeled evangelicals as religious extremists. I mean, the Army's training to take on Christians. I told you this first. I'm the crazy man because I actually am freaked out knowing we've got a bunch of authoritarians taking over. This is how they don't build a new car or a new computer or write a book to be popular. They take over and take your tax money. Okay? And these are authoritarians. These are not liberals. So here's Biden going, he knows about disinformation. There's no plan to use Secret Service on sheriffs. There's no New World Order. He just gave a speech. When, ladies and gentlemen, the bills are being introduced all over the place. Where the Secret Service operates now as your state police and goes after, quote, law enforcement. I mean, this is all, and they're like, it's not happening. It's not happening. Let's go ahead and go to that clip.
Now the NRA is engaging in a campaign, which is, I'm not unaccustomed to, of disinformation to try to scare people. Let me read some of the things they're saying about background checks. They say, quote, we, the federal government, want to put every private firearms transaction right under the thumb of the federal government and keep all those names in a massive federal register.
They've been caught doing it before.
Kind of scary, man. Black helicopter crowd really is upset.
Keep it in Blacksburg, Virginia.
But guess what? They go on to say that universal background checks are, quote, an unworkable universal federal nightmare.
Of course.
Bureaucracy that law-abiding citizens
don't want. Guess what?
Want.
They say the sun comes up.
They say even if we get a true universal background check, it will never keep criminals from buying guns. None of this is true.
Let me say something.
And I guess there's another clip I saw last night where he was talking about the Secret Service stuff. So they're just running around. Go ahead.
It's not the NRA that's saying that necessarily. It's the ACLU. No friend of the Second Amendment is saying that these background checks and this registry that they're setting up is really wrong, unconstitutional. It's the ACLU that's saying that, as well as the NRA.
I know, but the thing is, how long, they're not getting away with this. I was about to say, how long can they get away with it? Everyone knows that they make Bill Clinton look honest. I mean, the lying level of this group, it's just a bunch of criminals. It's like Acorn, where the Project Veritas goes in, and they go, I want to run underage kids as slaves, sex slaves. And they're like, oh, well, we're here to help you. And he goes to, I mean, it's just, and he goes to group after group, and they say that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's just full-on criminals.
Yeah, it is that we'll help you, just don't tell anybody that we did. You know, it's completely ridiculous. And
because they're above the law.
Yeah, yeah. And we'll get to these last couple clips we have. Now, our next clip is number 6. It's Aceveto's view on gun registration. David Knight asked him the question, how would you feel about registering people who have never committed a criminal offense? So if we have that clip, we can go ahead and roll it.
Registration of people who have not been convicted of any crime?
You know what? Personally, I wouldn't have a problem with that, because to me, I register my car for a reason. That is so people know that's my vehicle, belongs to me, and if anybody's found with that vehicle and it gets run, then they know there's a problem. When I sell my vehicle, I do what's called release of liability. I transfer ownership. Again, I know that folks really believe that if we had registration of firearms, that that's the step right before confiscation. And my response to that is, the day the government wants to do something silly, like go around to over 300 million Americans and take guns, and 300 sets of homes with different people, they'd go house to house anyway.
Now, as far as the registration, we've seen the, or should I say the confiscation, we've seen that in Hurricane Katrina, but we also have this article, California's gun repo men have a nerve-wracking job. And I'll just read this short section. Many states lack the ability to confiscate firearms because they don't track purchases as closely as California, which requires most sales to go through a licensed dealer to be reported. This is a quote, very, very few states have an archive of firearm owners like we do, says Winmute, who helped set up the program. So they're saying if we knew who had more.
I have CNN saying California has confiscated no guns, and then Don Salazar wrote an article for Infowars.com with just them taking the guns and saying we use the database to get them.
Yeah, I mean, that's what this is right here. This is this article right here. California gun repo men having nerve.
You know what? This is so important. I want to bring you all back in the next hour to play the first clip where Martinez says, don't worry, we're going to register, then we'll get your guns. I want to have you back to finish up on this at the bottom of the next hour, guys. I'm going to go to our guest.
Okay.
Amazing. Great job, gentlemen. And we'll have this all together in one big report on the Nightly News tonight, 7 o'clock Central, that I'm hosting. And one of you guys is doing the interview, right? Who are you interviewing tonight?
I believe we're talking about the Paul Revere entries, was my understanding.
Oh, good, good. That'll be awesome. Yeah. All right, great job, gentlemen. We're going to have the reporters back in here after we take calls for the first 30 minutes of the next hour. I want to bring up James O'Keefe now of theprojectveritas.org, and in a minute we'll play him this clip of the Austin City Council member saying, first we're going to register, then we're going to take your guns. But when I was talking to him about a month ago, I said somebody ought to go out to Piers Morgan's house and see if, you know, he's got any bodyguards. And sure enough, he does. And he has Armed Response, which is a company that promises within 5 minutes to have an armored truck pull up with guys, you know, with semi-automatic assault rifles and handguns. And sure enough, he's got that sign that guns protect his home. Just amazing hypocrisy. And, of course, none of the media picked it up. Infowars.com covered it. DrudgeReport.com covered it. WorldNet Daily covered it. Drudge Report, of course, picked up our story. But, James, good to have you back with us, my friend.
Great to be back with you, Alex.
What do you think of just the all-out hysterical assault on the Second Amendment and the unprecedented level of just lying about everything you're seeing and hearing?
Well, I think it's, as I was on your show last time, we talked about how they would not put a gun on their lawn that says this home is proudly gun-free. But now we're finding, you know, armed response security system signs on the property of Piers Morgan's. This is his Beverly Hills property. And we actually confronted Piers Morgan in the street outside of his CNN headquarters and asked him if he would be willing to help sign a pledge to remove guns from movies if any movie led to the death of any young child. So what I'm seeing is just the people who want to take guns away are not willing to apply that to their own personal lives.
Now, we're going to roll some of this video for TV viewers out there that you guys shot. It's up at your Project Veritas site. If people want to see the whole thing, which I suggest they do, and share it. But for radio listeners, describe what your team did. Describe how you got the image of the fact that he has the sign saying he has an armed response security system. I mean, this is classic over-the-top hypocrisy.
Yeah, this was in a very, very expensive area of Beverly Hills, and we called the Armed Security Response Systems Company. That's on the sign to determine exactly what it means to be armed. And she wouldn't give me too much information. This is the spokesperson, but she did say that there is the option to have private armed security show up if the response is triggered, if the alarm is triggered. So it is definitely the height of hypocrisy. It's not a surprise. You know, most of these journalists are very anti-gun in their messaging, but in their personal lives, they turn out to be pretty pro-gun, actually. So I think we need to be doing more of just exposing the media's hypocrisy, because it is the media that is doing this.
Yeah, I need to put you in contact with a group that has surveillance footage of Piers Morgan. I have the footage, but I haven't run it past legals normally myself, but I wanted to have it checked before I did anything. Well, we've had it about a month. It's Piers Morgan behind the scenes shooting guns, talking about how much he'd love to live in Texas and have guns like this. And it's high-def surveillance footage of him, and I just haven't released it yet. I guess I've now released the fact that we have that footage. There's no end to it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, the funny you're saying legal. I mean, you know, we deal with legal issues all the time. We're very careful not to cross the line. I mean, we didn't release Piers Morgan's personal address, but we did look up property deeds. And incidentally, it seems to be he's got a property in Calabasas, California, Beverly Hills, California. He works in New York. Some of them are registered under different names, but this is in a very ritzy area of Beverly Hills. But you know, their paycheck is more important than the principles. They're not willing to live up to the courage of their own principles. In fact, personally in their own lives, they're very pro-gun, and then publicly they're anti-gun. So they're not only hypocrites, they're frauds.
It's pretty incredible to sit there and see this unfold. Do you think they're going to succeed? They say it's razor's margin in the Senate with this bill they've got, but they've set up this idea that every time there's a new shooting, it's gun owners' fault. Like every time someone gets stabbed with an X-Acto knife, like at Lone Star College in Texas, 12 people, it's the fault of anyone that owns butcher knives. I mean, it's just so asinine, but are they going to succeed with their war against reality?
Well, I think that one of the things that helps them is they say that it's for the children. And there's a lot of propaganda in the news about being for the children. They're always talking about children. And that's one of the things I think that we frame the debate in a very interesting and different way. This time around, we actually went up to these people and actually said, well, it's for the children. You know, edit out guns from movies. We try to make a point about the absurdity. But I think the fact that they frame it as for the children is really what takes it into a realm where you really can't disagree with them. And I think we need to be saying, you know, what we want to do is for the children. We need to be, you know, turning it on its head. But it's definitely out of control.
Our story is up at drudgereport.com right now for anybody that would like to go there under the image of the former Congressman Weiner. Police confiscating firearms from people taking anti-anxiety medication. Now they're saying, and then the State House is talking about this, and of course that's the model of the country, New York, for gun confiscation, as they've bragged, that they are going to go after everybody's guns who's ever been on any anti-anxiety. If you've ever had a prescription for Valium 30 years ago, they're now digitizing those records. They're like, hey, you know, you're stressed out. Quit drinking, take some Valium. You know, a doctor recommends that. Or here, you know, you had a car wreck or your wife died. Here, you know, go on Luvox. And then you don't like it, you get off. And then they're going to say everybody is mentally ill and take their guns. Are you concerned this could cause a civil war? Because I'm here to tell you, Homeland Security is training for a civil war. They're preparing for a civil war, while Biden is saying that they're not, but they are. I mean, what do you? I mean, do they have dreams of grandeur that they could be like Hitler or Stalin?
You're asking me?
Yes, sir.
I don't know what exactly they're preparing for, but I think the priority for us right now, the priority for citizen journalists, is to take it directly to the media. Take it directly to Piers Morgan's front lawn. Take it directly outside of his office in Time Warner in New York. take the fight right to these journalists because they control the message.
Because they're not journalists. They're not journalists. They were assaulting one or two pro-gun guys in Austin, and then on the news said they caused a problem at the anti-gun rally. And then they said, we're going to register. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. It's just they're so deceptive. I mean, they're the bad guys, is my point.
That's what people don't seem to understand. I mean, yes, there's a lot of government fraud and lying going on, but I think the priority is to take it directly to the journalists, take it to their doorsteps, take it to their companies, point out the hypocrisy in their personal lives, and that will ultimately discredit them. And it'll have a huge impact on any legislative battle because the media owns the message. So I think that the priority of Project Veritas is to highlight the hypocrisy of the journalists themselves. There needs to be more people doing that. I don't think they underestimate the power of our media, the power of the hypocrites at CNN and these other places.
Well, so I mean, CNN and all the media numbers that come out every month show this. All of the dominant media is no longer dominant. They're a shadow of their former self. I mean, Larry King 15 years ago had 10 million viewers some nights. When he left, it was 1.5 million, and now Piers Morgan's lucky if he gets 500,000. And I guess we just don't put on airs. Your videos are seen millions of times. My films have been seen hundreds of millions of times just on YouTube alone. I reach 1 million people an hour. That, by the way, is a very conservative number because I want to be conservative. 3 million a day, 15 million a week, one way or another. I mean, maybe I should dress in royal robes and wear a crown like these people basically do because they are the mouse that roared.
Well, they still have a lot of power. ABC, NBC, CBS News. They still carry an ampliphone and a megaphone, and I think that a lot of people, they do watch our videos, they do get the message, but a lot of other people are just sort of still watching network news. And
sure, but what I'm saying is, yes, you're right. They still have power if they all gang up and say the same thing in the same order. But even that's not working. I mean, you've seen the White House publicly admitting that, quote, Drudge is quote, causing them to not even be able to talk to anybody. I mean, one website has got them literally crapping their pants.
That's right. And I think there's a lot of people are afraid. There's a lot of citizen journalists. Drudge was a pioneer, but a lot of them are afraid. And I think we got to stick together and break stories that they got to force the media to talk. And the way that I've found with our stories, to force the media to talk about what we're doing and force them to cover it, is to talk about the media, is to expose the media and expose the fraud like we did at NPR, like we did with the To Catch a Journalist series, like we did with the recent signs on the lawns of journalists like Piers Morgan. Go after, investigate the journalists, and I think you'll break through that media firewall and actually get onto some of these mainstream programs.
Exactly. That's what they're afraid of, is you exposing the man behind the curtain. And that's what the White House in memos and in public statements, some of them came out last week, I'm sure you saw that, where the main chief advisor to Obama said, we can't control the narrative. And then he used Drudge as kind of a catch-all as the top of the pyramid. I mean, it shows they're not all powerful.
Yeah, they're not all powerful. There are cracks. There are cracks in their messaging system. But what you have to do is you have to force a consequence. You have to. And some of your reporting has. Reporting has got to force a government reaction, and that government reaction we picked up in the wires. That's what we do at Project Veritas. We did voter fraud investigations all last year. It forced investigations.
And they tried to put you in prison.
They issued criminal grand jury subpoenas against me for exposing the fact that the Attorney General's ballot was offered to a complete stranger. They've tried to issue criminal grand jury subpoenas when I exposed dead people, where ballots were given out in the names of dead people in places like New Hampshire. But what happened, which is interesting, is that a couple states changed their laws and that forced the media to report on the fact that the laws are being changed.
That's right.
So they drag their heels because they don't want to talk about these. They don't want to talk about the facts.
They want to deny it while they get their takeover done. Stay there. Let's come back and talk more about how to get on the offensive with Mr. O'Keefe. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to control myself to not literally become crazed on air. And it's because I'm the type of guy who's real laid back fishing, laid back with my wife and my kids, real calm my whole life until somebody starts something with me. And then I turn into an absolute maniac. I mean, it's just my instincts. You come over and punch me in the nose, you may kick my butt, but you better get ready to be attacked 110%. Blackout time. And that's why I start hyperventilating and yelling and screaming, because these people are a bunch of lying crooks, butchering everything, and I'm sick of them, and I'm tired of it. And I'm tired of all their memos saying they're going to ban our guns once they register them. They've done it all over the world. They've done it in New York, Chicago. And then I send my crew out to the anti-gun Bloomberg thing here in Austin, and they've got the mayor pro tem up there that flies around with the globalist, with the police chief who was with Obama and Biden yesterday, saying, as they had people slap and hit and grab. We showed the video earlier. The reporters, the citizen activists that are out there with a sign saying, no gun ban. And then the news says the pro-gun people caused a disturbance. They lie about that. And then they say no one wants your guns in the newscast, and actually show Martinez, who said, hey, your sign, that we're not taking your guns now, but after we finish this work, we are. And then we're going to get your guns. So you're going to need that sign. Here's the clip. I want to get James O'Keefe's comment on this and talk about what's coming up next with the ProjectVeritas.org. Here it is.
Austin City Councilman Mike Martinez.
Thank you so much. I've got a proclamation on behalf of the Mayor and City Council that we want to present, but I want to say a couple of words, and I'll be brief. First of all, to the gentleman that's dying for attention, someone needs to inform him that there is no gun ban currently, but because of the work that we're doing here today, we will make your sign legitimate shortly. So you hang on to that.
And he's somebody that's called for taking the guns. So that's from a larger report I did. James, what do you say to that, where they'll admit they want to get the guns, but then they lie on the news and say, oh, we don't want your guns. We come in peace.
I would go to that. I mean, Saul Alinsky would say a tactic that drags on too long becomes a drag. But when it comes to that guy, I'd love to go to his house and offer one of our "This home is proudly gun-free" signs, and see if he'd be willing to live up to his own book of rules. I doubt he'd be willing to do that.
No, I know a little bit about the Martinez family from folks I know. Reportedly, they pack the heat. But I guess he just wants our guns. He wants to be the only guy with a gun.
He probably wants to. A lot of these people, it's guns for me, but not for thee. So it's really about aristocracy, and it's about the elites versus the people. And exactly. So we need to expose that. Our reporters need to expose the aristocracy, the elitism, and the disconnect between the people in power and the people who aren't.
I know you're always doing big stuff. What's coming next?
We've got about 5 major investigations. We've got something on Bloomberg. We're working on some federal programs. Some other stuff I can't even talk about. I mean, I'm going to be releasing a book in June. It's called Breakthrough. It is an adventure story about all the things we've done, all the various government organizations we've infiltrated, and the reaction, and how to survive. It's a hopeful story.
What a great book! It's a blueprint on how to become real citizen journalists like you've done.
It's a hand guide. It's a field manual, and how to break through the media firewall. It's really important, not just to break stories that actually get covered by the.
So Saul Alinsky dedicated his book to Lucifer, How to Use Deception and Evil. They use that. You're writing a handbook, How to Use Good, dedicated to God. We'll be right back in 60 seconds with our guest. I know that James O'Keefe knows Glenn Beck, been on the show a lot, and I think Glenn Beck does a lot of good work. My wife calls me this morning. I'm driving into work about 9 a.m., and she goes, hey, I just tuned into Glenn Beck on local radio on your local affiliate, and he's talking about how they're going to take everybody's guns who's ever been on any type of anti-anxiety medication. And I said, yeah, that's our story from last night. So I pulled over, and I already knew. And I went to Drudge, and there was our article. It's on Drudge right now, middle column. And I tune in, and he's reading it still. This is like 3 minutes later, going back to pieces, not saying it's from Infowars.com. And, here's the deal. And then not saying it came from DrudgeReport.com. My issue, maybe I missed it, but it's any time I tune in. We don't copy him, he copies us, which I don't mind if he didn't attack us. See, I've got James O'Keefe on here because I just want a future for my kids. I think the guy's a hero. I think he's a model for all of us, like We Are Change is. And I've done this trailblazing work. Copy us and do it better. This is how we're going to beat them. That's why when his book comes out, I'm going to buy thousands of them and sell them on Infowars.com. I'm ranting here. I didn't mean to go off into a Glenn Beck thing. It's just that we need more people to fight this tyranny because these are real authoritarians. Knowing them as good as you do, knowing how criminal they are, do you think I'm wrong in saying this is really a dangerous group of people?
No, Alex. You know, I've lived it. I'm one of the. There are a number of us who've lived through it, but I mean, I've been detained, I've been sued, I've been slandered, I've gotten defamation settlements from journalists. I've been through just about everything you can go through in your 20s. And what I've learned is that the most important thing is to keep going, is to not stop. That's really. I mean, I'm a Christian guy, so I mean, I'm not worried. I'm just trying to expose things. What we don't have enough of is we don't have fact finders, and that's what. You know, Drudge is great. He links to new stories, new information. You put out one fact, it seems like it gets consumed by so many different blogs. So my message is to get citizen journalists to go out there and not be afraid and expose new information, new content. We need more content. We have plenty of distribution platforms. Now we just need new content, and that's what my book is going to be about. It's going to be about how to survive the machine and make a difference.
Hey, all the things you've learned, all the knowledge, transferring it to others, invaluable. I'm telling you, I'm excited to read the book. That's why I'm foaming at the mouth.
There's actually, you know, like the Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals, you said he dedicated it to Lucifer. In many ways, I kind of, you know, half-heartedly dedicate this book to Saul Alinsky because I've learned a lot from people like Saul Alinsky and these community organizers. They used to organize people for power, you know, to overturn the republic, the democratic idea. And what I'm doing is using those same community organizing tactics to organize like-minded citizen journalists for power.
And you're using the truth instead of lies. Well, see, I haven't read your book yet. You're going to send me a copy. I mean, I guess there's not even copies out there yet. But you notice I peered into what was happening because I get what you're saying. Maybe if you still have time to change the forward, you know, make the joke about dedicated to Saul Alinsky, but no, not really. He dedicated it to Lucifer. He used lies. We're using truth. I dedicate this to Jesus Christ.
That's a very good idea. I'm actually finishing the acknowledgments right now, so I can add something to that.
Well, I don't mean to be a preacher, but there's your word of knowledge, my friend.
Thank you.
You have done well, Lord Vader. Hey, seriously, let's do 5 more minutes, or do you have to go? You got another interview coming up?
Actually, I just have to I got a couple of my guerrilla journalists in the field right now doing some videos, so I have to advise them. So I was going to call them at 2 o'clock. Absolutely. All right, we'll get to that, and then we're going to have you back very soon to talk more about what's going on, because I know you're going to be breaking big news on... We're going to be breaking stories all the next few months, so I'll be sure to... On Turdberg, or I'm sorry, Bloomberg. We'll be right back. Thanks, buddy. Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m., we're here live, and I am waging war on the globalists. They work for foreign banks that openly announce they're establishing an authoritarian, tyrannical world government. Financial Times of London, their editor 4 years ago, wrote, "And now for world government," and said, you bet we're secretive, you bet we're authoritarian, and we're smarter than you, and we're going to run your life. And you know what the whole plan is? Bring in world government, cut off the resources, so they can socially engineer you and your family, get rid of the family. You'll all live in these government dormitories with basically it's a bunch of nobodies who can't win in a normal society, being good-looking, smart, hardworking, funny, inventive. They form gangs. Because it doesn't matter if a bunch of mangy hyenas are nothing compared to a big lion. You get about 20 of them, they can kill any lion they want. And that's what this is. That's what this whole thing is throughout history, is you've got people in gangs and people that gravitate towards gangs, government gangs, police gangs, corporate gangs, bureaucratic gangs. And you've got a bunch of foreign offshore banks. People say, how do you fight them? Go look at who gives money to Handgun Control Incorporated, the Violence Policy Center, and then all the other big foundations that fence it out to them, the Ford Foundation, the Carnegie Foundation. Go look at what they're for. In the family. Get rid of national sovereignty. Open the borders completely up to bring in groups that are clients of the government. I wouldn't be against 50 million people from Mexico if they were loving George Washington's Second Amendment private property.
because it's the content of the minds. I don't care if every Californian moves to Texas, except they flee what they've done there, because I'd say California is prettier than Texas on average. I'd love it if it was like Texas. I'd probably live there. But it's a hellhole. And then you come here, you've already pooped in your pool there. Now I'm in the pool in Texas, and you're squatting, crapping all over us. And I'm like, listen, you're crapping in the pool. And they're like, no, I'm not, while I'm watching them do it. Listen, get it through your bug-eyed brain, okay? You're not going to suck us dry like Russia and Nazi Germany. Get it through your stinking brain. I know you're cowards and weak, so you lust after power because you've never had it, okay? You don't even know what you're getting into, okay? Because you're weak idiots. The useful idiots always open up the bridge, the drawbridge, and open the gate for the enemy to come in. And you know the first people the enemy slits the throats of? They don't want a traitor that'll open the gate for the next person. They despise you, Mike Martinez. They despise you. And the globalists all hate each other as well. I mean, they've written about it at these Bilderberg and Davos and Bohemian Grove meetings. They're all a bunch of backstabbing mafia crud. Dishonorable. That's why they want to corrupt society, so you're dishonorable. Because if you're not dishonorable, then society will be strong and they can't overrun you. And I'm not an honorable person because I've got some goody two-shoes idea. I'm honorable because it makes sense. And let me tell you, this is a dishonorable world now. Wickedness is spreading. And I don't mean the wickedness the preacher talks about and he's a goody two-shoes and a fake. Okay, I know about wickedness because my heart is wicked. Very wicked, ladies and gentlemen. But the good in me is even stronger. And I can tell you, not just their political actions, but all of it. I've been around the so-called Democratic Party and who they are the authoritarian scum of the earth. Does that mean the Republicans are good? No, they're controlled by the very same globalist. What I'm getting at here is that we are in a crisis and these are bad people. How do you know if you're walking down an alleyway at night and you see some really scary people looking at you in an aggressive way and in a predatory way, and you know they're stalking you, and they sure enough say, "What time is it, buddy?" And then if you're dumb enough to, because they're looking for somebody that'll go up against the wall, "I'm your first one. Mind if I have your wallet?" Because then it's not even stealing. He gave it to me. I mean, I've been on the New York subway in the morning and at night when they're doing that to an old lady. And, you know, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. The point is that I don't want to live under this bondage. You don't want to live under it. Find your common sense. Find out what's happening. I'm going to have them with us for the rest of the hour here today. Jakari Jackson and David Knight. We just had James O'Keefe on from the Veritas Project. And we're taking action. And let me tell you, it's exciting, it's bold. People play video games for adventure. They go and jump out of airplanes for adventure. They go and do all this stuff looking for the adventure. The adventure is always about defending liberty and freedom, so you can go out and write the books you want to write, so you can go out and be the journalist you want to be, so you can go out and worship the God you want to worship, so you can go out and build the business and the idea you want without some big cartel having government shut you down because you didn't go through the right process. You know what you got to do to get drugs approved nowadays? You got to go pay off U.S. military generals to get them to fast-track human testing on U.S. troops for anything. I happen to know people in drug development, okay? You go pay off generals, and it's all legal. You pay them off, and their advisory board that's got congressmen on it, and then they all get a piece of the drug, and then it gets approved, even if it kills people. That's how America works. You hear, oh, we can't get the drugs approved. They've got warehouses of treatments and near cures for everything. They have found the cures for cancer 99% of the time. There's no 100%. There's complications. They've got all of it, and they're going, we've got all this. We've got all this incredible technology. We've got antimatter power systems. That's been leaked. They've got everything. And they're going, well, we don't need all these people. Look at their ugly eating hamburgers and stumbling around, tattoos all over them. You're the ones that did that to them. You're the ones that sold them a culture. I'm not saying you're bad if you have tattoos. You know my point. To destroy you so that you would be weak so that they could run over you. Eugenics isn't get rid of the bad, build up the good, which is evil in itself because you know where that goes. Real eugenics, when you get deep into it, is about targeting the strong, the beautiful, the creative, because you are a threat to them, just like a lion will kill a baby male lion. He'll come over and smell it, and then he'll eat it. Grizzly bears do it. Every predatory species does it. And make no mistake, humans are predatory. And so the globalists call themselves another species. They're above us, and they want us disarmed. The toll-free number to join us after we go through these clips is 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. You either wake up and get the fire of liberty burning in your heart or get ready to be a total techno-slave. And again, at the end of this road isn't just slavery. The New World Order's got all these little jobs where you can have petty power through the system. But at the end of the day, it's meant to be cycled down and shut down. 800-259-9231. What do you think of Mike Martinez? What do you think of Bloomberg? What do you think of these Democrats openly saying with Republican traitors that they are going to ban our guns once they register them? Well, we already knew that. It's the sneakiness of these people. That should discredit them, but they always have these weak, pathetic, gibbering people that look like mental patients. I mean, I've gone to these anti-gun rallies, and it just looks like it doesn't matter if they're black, white, Hispanic. These people all look like Buzz Bissinger. I mean, they are fundamentally weirdo people who hate you and want to pull you down. I'm sorry I've said that. Gentlemen, I'm ranting. We're going to break here in a few minutes. Shikari, David Knight, hearing all this, I just realized the full assault is now happening. The enemy is putting their full weight on us. This is the main assault. It's just going to get worse. And this is where we decide who we are. And now I realize the gun owners aren't going to turn them in. It's going to turn into a shooting war. They're going to call gun owners terrorists, and it's off to the races. How do we stop that? How do we avert that? And recap some of the other clips before we play the clips we haven't gotten to yet, because you were in here with us last hour, for those that don't know.
Well, you talked about the big...
Oh, go ahead.
You talked about the big picture. We're going to talk about some of the details, because Arcevedo is talking about registration versus confiscation. He's talking about, are we really on a slippery slope? And so we want to talk about some of those issues and what he said there, and what he's calling for and what the Democrats are calling for, where that's going to lead immediately.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I don't know if the guys have the clip ready. It's clip number 6, if we have time to play that.
Now, let's go ahead, and he's queuing that up, and we're going to... what did you think when the news, because I played that local KVUE piece where they said, no one wanted to take the guns. And then they edit Martinez to make it sound like he wasn't going to take the guns. Yeah, when he said we're going to, I mean, it's just, and I guarantee they got a pat on the back. Good job lying to the viewers.
Yeah, it's definitely sleight of hand, because they took the clip, well, I can't say they took it out of context. They just edited it in a certain way that when they play the lady saying, well, I'm not trying to take anybody's guns, and maybe she isn't. She wants responsible gun restrictions, whatever that means to her. But then you play Martinez, who says, yes, I will take your guns. I'm going to make your sign legitimate, because you see the guy with the sign that says, in the gun ban or no gun ban.
Oh, I'll guarantee if she's the head of that group, she wants total abolition. I've run into these people behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at that myself, because they may start with that. We think we can get this today, but I wouldn't be surprised if many of those people just wanted to complete abolition of firearms.
Most of those people have been let out of mental institutions, or they're in the government. Because I've been to dozens of those, and I mean they're all weirdos. Go ahead.
We need to stop this at registration. And we're going to talk about why we need to do that. We got that clip ready. Let's run that.
Yeah, let's go to that clip. Here it is.
Registration of people who have not been convicted of any crime?
You know what? Personally, I wouldn't have a problem with that, because to me, I register my car for a reason.
This is Austin Police
That
Chief.
is so people know that's my vehicle, belongs to me, and if anybody's found with that vehicle and it gets run, then they know there's a problem. When I sell my vehicle, I do what's called release of liability. I transfer ownership.
They use registration now to steal your car. The government does when you haven't paid the
really
taxes.
believe that if we had registration of firearms, that's the step right before confiscation. And my response to that is, the day the government wants to do something silly, like go around to over 300 million Americans and take guns, and 300 sets of homes with different people, they'd go house to house anyway.
So I'm not exactly sure what he was implying there.
No, the official new Army manuals for house-to-house gun confiscation, they did it in Katrina, and they're already taking guns in all these states that are banning them and arresting people for over 10-round mags with felonies. I mean, it's happening.
But they do want to know who has the guns.
Of course they do. They admit that. Yeah.
But the thing, listen to the analogy that he's making, because this was all over a lot of people's signs that, of course, had been prepared for the crowd before they got there. And that was this analogy of automobiles to guns, and registration of automobiles to registration of guns. That's not the analogy we're talking about. We're talking about a First Amendment type of analogy. You need to compare the Second Amendment to the First Amendment. The First Amendment says you'll make no law. The Second Amendment says you shall not infringe. And the only difference between those two is they understood they were going to come after the Second Amendment gradually, incrementally. around their edges, okay? And that's exactly what this registration stuff is. It's an infringement.
And then they say at the rally, we're going to ban your guns after we register them, and the news spins it and says, relax, relax, this isn't an assault, lay down. All right, in the next segment with my two co-hosts here today, Jakari Jackson and David Knight, we will start going to your phone calls interspersed with some of the clips we played earlier, but we were just getting into Arte Saveda saying, hey, don't worry about registration leading to confiscation. That's ridiculous. Who ever heard of that? Meanwhile, they just had a speech up there where the city councilman's like, hey, don't worry. First, we're going to register. Then your sign about gun ban, you're going to need that sign because that's what we're going to do. And then the crowd's all laughing and cheering, and a woman comes up with her hand and kind of hits him in the back, and they're grabbing at his sign, and then the media's like, look at that troublemaking gun owner over there. And we don't want your guns. It's like, folks, this is military operations. They found in World War I, if you had speakers blaring, this is not an assault, even though troops were coming over, the French and Germans did it back and forth on each other, that people wouldn't fight as hard. So they just, it's like in Saving Private Ryan where the German soldiers, they're trying to stab each other, and the American soldier starts getting the upper hand, and the guy's like, oh, no, let's be friends. Let's be friends. We're not fighting now. And the guy gives up, and then he's like, slides that knife in. We don't want your guns. There's no bullets. There's nothing going on. The Federal Reserve it in private. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's exactly right. Now, I just want to talk about a little bit about their views, these people at this rally. They just want reasonable restrictions, and one of those restrictions is to have people who have felony offenses, not be able to have their right to bear arms. Now, to many people, that may sound reasonable. They think about felonies as murder or heavy drug trafficking, but we have the article on Infowars.com about a man who was arrested, charged with felony offenses for releasing balloons. And you think about this is the new bar, or should I say the bar has been lowered. You can see you can see it right there. Man faces 5 years in prison for releasing balloons.
And people say, that's Infowars.com. Well, go to the bottom then and click on the Sun Sentinel newspaper. He's facing 5 to 7 years for releasing 3 heart-shaped balloons.
Yeah, so that's the new bar.
For environmental crimes.
Yeah, so if you release balloons, he
wouldn't be able to have guns because he let those balloons go.
Because he would have a felony if he's charged with that. And on that same account, we can go to clip number 7 here, and this is Acevedo talking about the slippery slope of gun registration.
Here it is.
I would really like to see an anti-gun trafficking federal law to keep people from trafficking guns to folks that shouldn't have them. I know that Alex and a lot of his viewers are worried about that slippery slope. But like I've told Alex before, and I feel this in my heart of hearts, the right to bear arms has been part of our nation's history. I mean, it was a huge part of our nation's history. It's something that we have to support, but we protect it by taking common sense steps to do a better job keeping guns out of the wrong people's hands. Over there in Colorado, in Aurora, where that guy would have been nice to be able to have something where we could at least take possession of those firearms for safekeeping until they can work through their issues.
So there you go. He said, I at least like to have access to those guns temporarily, pre-crime, because he had.
But meanwhile, he was planning it. He told everyone it's now come out in court. He was on 7 drugs.
Right.
In a mind-controlled DARPA program. Gee, wonder why the top Air Force psych warfare specialist didn't tell the police, but now, because it's on record, goes, oh, well, I did. Oh, they never stop him. I wonder why. And Adam Lanza had his guns illegally. He tried to buy guns 5 times.
Oh, yeah.
But look at what Acevedo is doing. He's doing the typical Democrat talking points. He comes out and he says, we only want to take guns away from criminals, people who are convicted felons. We're going to give them due process, and then they shouldn't have guns anymore because they've been judged to be dangerous to the community. And like Jakari just pointed out, a felony is not what you think of as a felony. It could be releasing a couple of balloons on the beach and then getting hit with a felony charge. It could be from the interview that you had earlier this week, Jakari, with
Antonio Beeler.
Yeah.
And Alex, that situation. He was arrested for filming police attacking somebody else.
Here in Austin.
Yeah, here in Austin. And then he was attacked by the police. This is all on camera. We've shown it on Infowars.
He's backing away. They say he assaulted them.
Yeah, and then they say that he spit on them. You can see the police are wrestling him to the ground. He has his hands up like this, like I'm not resisting, and they try to slam him to the ground. A pretty pathetic attempt, if I might add so myself. But they're trying to slam the guy to the ground, And he said, I'm not resisting, but, you know, now they're trying to charge him with felonies for filming police.
And then they'll get his guns, don't worry.
And Acevedo supported that. He supported the officers who were lying, okay, and he pushed for maximum charges on this guy.
And it's always, oh, we love the veterans. The truth is they hate him because he's an Army Ranger, you know, from Iraq and Kosovo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We'll show you.
Yeah. But it's exactly, you know, what we're talking about. They're taking a fundamental right and they're turning it into a government-granted privilege. And first he tells people, don't worry, we're only going to take rights away from convicted felons. But then later he turns it to anybody that a psychiatrist points a finger at.
And that's what they're calling for. They have a bill in the Texas legislature where the police just say they think you're acting mentally ill and your guns are gone.
Exactly.
I mean, that's Soviet Union.
Mm-hmm.
But it's okay because Arte Acevedo's so nice.
And that's what
he's a friendly guy.
He is a friendly guy. I'll give him that. He is a friendly guy.
Just don't turn your back on him. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back live, going to your calls here in a moment. We're just seeing a rampage of authoritarianism out there on every front. So many fronts I can't even keep track of it. We're going to go to Dean, Paul, Kent, Mark, Sean, and others here in a moment. The toll-free number to join us is 800-259-9231. Gentlemen, let's get to some more of these clips. What's up next, Jakari?
Well, actually, we have the last clip, and I'll let David introduce this one because he actually asked the question.
Well, basically, we just wanted to see if he's having trouble getting ammunition. You know, there's reports, it was actually linked to Drudge, I think 2 or 3 days ago, where they're talking about police departments couldn't get ammunition. The Tennessee Highway Patrol couldn't get ammunition. The lead story was some police department where they're putting off their qualification because they couldn't get sufficient ammunition. So I asked Art Acevedo if the Austin Police Department was having any trouble getting ammunition. Here's what he said.
One quick question. Are you having any trouble getting ammunition?
No, actually, no.
So when we heard that, we went out and we looked around Austin to see if we could buy any ammunition from sporting goods stores. And we
Slim pickings.
Yeah.
And that piece is tonight.
No, it'll be tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night. Yeah. And to be clear, I was in an academy about a month ago buying ammo, and you have to go to the front register to get one box of 223, 308, or 40 or 9, all the government stuff. And I was told by the guys behind the counter, well, trucks come in, there's guys waiting. Sometimes it's the police. We try to help them out. You found one article out of East Texas where the gun shop said they give cops preferential treatment. So I sent you over there to see, let's show people there's real, because I told Watson about this actually it was a month and a half ago before anybody had the news that they were rationing ammo. And for whatever reason, he's a great writer. He had too much on his plate. Now it's news. But I was there at Academy, and then I called around at other academies. They go, no, you get one box. You guys experienced that same thing, correct?
Oh, yeah. We did some hidden camera stuff. I believe we all went out. I went to one of the academies here in Austin, and I go to the front counter. Well, first I go back to the gun bar. And then, you know, they're more the desired ammunition, your 223s, your 9mm. They kept those up front. So I go back up front to the customer service desk, and I say, hey, do you have any 223s? They say, yes, but you can only buy one box. And I was like, okay. So I pull out my money, and the guy behind the cashier girl, he said, well, you can buy 2 if you have somebody else buy 1. But the cashier girl is telling me, no, this is our last box. So I'm like, okay, do you have 1 box, or can I buy 2 if I'm with somebody else? Then the guy says, okay, just let the guy buy 2. But I only had enough money for 1, so I just bought 1. And
that was that Remington boar killer.
Yeah, that's
223.
That's the one you saw we have back there in the office. So I mean, it definitely is bullet rationing, and even they resorted to the point of lying to you. You know, if you go in there, you want to get more than 1 box, and just instead of saying, sir, you can only get 1 box, like, no, this is our last box.
Well, see, I was told more because there was 3 guys, and I bought a couple shotguns. And one guy was shaking because it was me. And they go, don't worry, he's just a weekend guy. And of course, all these listeners come up shaking my hand. And I go, okay, I want that shotgun, and I want that shotgun, because you can't ever have enough shotguns, semi-autos. And the guy's going, you can't have 2. You can't have 2. And
why can't you buy 2?
Well, he goes, we got to fill out an ATF report, you know, that wherever you buy 2 rifles. And the manager goes, no, we don't. And then and I'm going, well, now tell me, how do I get 223 more than just 1 box? And he goes, well, we were selling it right out of the truck to whoever got there first. We try to help the police out first. So I think Acevedo, maybe he's getting it from the feds, Homeland Security. I mean,
he's certainly got connections.
Oh, yeah.
He's up all week with talking to Biden.
And he's not just standing behind him. He's on the news with the vice president.
Yeah, and he's very confident. He said, no, I have no problems getting ammunition.
El Diablo.
We've seen the articles in other organizations, police organizations, where they're having trouble getting ammunition. Some gun stores are even making their own now, just to supply.
And we have to understand, too, we touched on it at the very end of the, just before the break, but The argument that he's using, the standard Democrat talking points, is don't worry, we're only coming after dangerous felons, and they've had due process. But then as they talk, they spin it and say, and anybody that a psychiatrist deems to be dodgy, a little bit dodgy.
So it's not a court, it's the psychiatrist, psychologist that are public drug reps pushing drugs on kids. Their answer is, all our Prozac heads keep shooting everybody up on, so now let's put more people on it.
And you lose due process, and not only does that person lose due process, but everybody in the household loses due process. Remember there was that story that we covered, I don't remember where it was, but the kid had...
the water gun.
The water gun, and they went in and confiscated the dad's guns.
No, well, that was on Monday. The bullies are beating them up, so they joke, we could squirt them with water guns. I brought water guns to school. I mean, you name it. We threw footballs at each other all day. I mean, you know, whatever. Of course, they banned dodgeball.
There it is right there on the screen.
Yeah, there it is. And they come to the house and they go, well, when he moves out when he's 18, the kid's 10, you can have your guns back, maybe.
Yeah, maybe, took $6,500 worth of guns from him. Just confiscated them. Because his son...
No judge, no jury, no nothing, just the police are God.
Because they had registration information on him. They knew that he had a gun. Because there were other kids, they didn't go after the other family.
And again, that's Long Island. So the issue here is they just do whatever they want now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not even a law to do that. And they want that nationwide, just color of law. Folks, tyranny is when they do whatever they want. And it's here. And by the way, you notice they're announcing, we're going to take the federal pension funds to prop up the derivatives now. And we're going to take your 401k now, or part of it. And you know what? There is that new thing on investments, that new extra tax. And there is that payroll tax on poor people.
Right.
And I mean, how long can they get away with this level of con artistry?
I mean, I just don't get why people can't see it, because I used to work for the city of Tulsa back when I still lived in Oklahoma. And when I was, you know, coming in and filling out all my paperwork, they asked me, would you like to invest in the retirement plan? And I just seen on 60 Minutes, it was some town, I can't remember where it was. They just came in and took everybody's retirement plans who worked for the city for, you know, 30 plus years. So the lady's looking at me across the desk like, do you want to sign up for our retirement plan? I'm not going to be a retirement plan.
Do you know why they think it's all about to collapse? You got hundreds of cities, even some big ones going under, all over, you know, not just in Michigan, but California, you name it. In the last 3-4 years, the city managers and 3 or 4 other key people, some of them getting paid $800,000 a year in even small towns. It's come out in California.
Doesn't somebody in California make more money than Obama?
No. There's a city manager in a small town that made $800,000. Why not? I mean, they can do whatever they want. Guys, type in California bureaucrats paid $800,000. It was like $844,000. But the point is, they've quietly moved into their other private pension funds that they know have been protected. And they're going to loot everybody else's. I mean, you cops following these criminals' orders, you really think you're going to take our guns and not have everything you've got taken? I mean, Mexico has triple the resources in major studies you can look up that the U.S. does. Oil, gold, timber, soils, volcanic. I mean, the whole thing's, except for a little bit of the north, is the best soil in the world. And Mexico can't get anything going because the El Jefes don't want people doing well. Yeah, there it is. There it is, who reportedly had a combined salary of $1.6 million. Oscar Hernandez, the mayor of Bell, California, and the city council accepted the resignation of the city manager, Robert Rizzo, assistant city manager, Angela, how do you say that, Spacisa, and police chief Randy Adams, who reportedly had a combined salary of $1.6 million. And see, that's not even the worst one. People in California finally went, you're taking my house for property taxes because I can't pay it, because I have a medical issue or whatever, and the insurance won't cover it. You're taking my house and you make $800,000 a year in a town of 50,000 people?
Yeah, that's how it works. That's exactly how it works.
And we've already seen precedents of this. In Illinois, they had the teachers union, and the teachers' employees had a state pension. And, of course, the state comes in and borrows against it to the hilt. And that was one of the things that they came in and said, let's try to, they actually voted, the teachers actually voted to have private pensions. So they would actually have an account with their name on it, and they had transparency to see what was there. But now they're going to come after the private pensions. And they're not going to borrow it. They're just
well, look at Europe in the final orgy. They're going after the billionaires now who aren't on the inside group and taking all their money. And it turns out the really insider guys are all tax exempt.
Oh, yeah, because they're giving you a haircut while they just rip money out of your account. And it's amazing to me that people don't think that it can happen here.
Notice the first week they reported on it, and now you never hear about it again.
Right.
And they took 100% of some accounts.
Yeah.
Because why not? They got away with 10%. Because there's no guns in Cyprus. Only the government has them. And boy, I've talked to folks that have been to Cyprus. It's highly paramilitary. soldier cops with machine guns, but you don't have them. And guess what? You don't have your bank account either.
Wow.
All right, I want to go to some phone calls, but we never got to clip number 2, which I guess is a repeat of Martinez and I guess Art Aceveda. I think the biggest thing is that they went out and intimidated the 2 guys with pro-gun signs.
Mm-hmm.
A lady hits them in the back. It's weird. I mean, I love women.
They're heckling.
But it's weird how women will hit you. They'll kind of just like that. She like pow with her fingers, hits him, and then they cuss at him, and then he's bad because they did that.
Yeah, and they're heckling the guy, and I don't know if it's in that clip, but you can hear one of the ladies saying, "Oh, is this your bodyguard?" to the smaller guy, and they're making fun of him, and you can obviously see him. They're covering his sign, but they're the bad guys.
And then Aceveda comes over and like leans into him. What do you think? This is America? This is Cuba.
Well, it's key to remember what Martinez said, when he got pushed and when he got his blood up. He said, we're going to make your gun ban sign come true.
What's the one where Art Aceveda says, I want to confront Alex. I'm not taking the guns.
I don't know if we have that one.
We need that for the nightly news with that, then cutting to all the gun grabbers saying, once we register, we're going to get them.
That's right.
We'll get that.
And the registration...
And it's so fake. He's like, how dare Alex say that? It's just so fake. It's like you catch your... Have you ever had your kids when they're stealing candy or something, and they try that thing of acting angry, and then you see the wrapper sticking out of their pocket? I'm sorry.
Well, the registration that he's proposing, that the Democrats are proposing, is bad enough, even without all-out confiscation. We understand it is a step to confiscation, but it is going to have immediate effect on a lot of people when you look at the way they're going around and already using registration information to grab your guns if they see something on Facebook that your son put on there about a squirt gun or something, right? Mm-hmm. So, that's a serious step right there. It's changing a fundamental right into a privilege.
But outside of law, they're kicking kids out of school for their pastry looking like a gun,
right?
Or a G.I. Joe toy or a Nerf gun. They're just doing it. Like he said, brainwash, turn people against guns.
Yeah, when they locked down the school because you brought your Nerf gun. I mean, it's so ridiculous.
And we need to understand that these constitutional sheriffs that Acevedo attacked, these are elected officials, okay? Police chiefs are not elected. They're appointed bureaucrats, okay? And like Sheriff Mack said, any gun law is illegal. And he did go to the Supreme Court. He did fight the Brady Bill, and all the way to the Supreme Court, and he won.
So they just changed it.
Right.
It's just amazing that we've gotten to this point. All right, let's go to the phone calls here. We're going to go to Dean, then Paul, Kent, Mark. Sean, thanks for calling in today. By the way, Infowars Nightly News tonight. Mm-hmm. We've got one of our reporters' first pieces on the street. It is incredible. We got the majority of Austinites we talked to did not know what dihydrogen monoxide was. We've redone that piece that Penn and Teller did 9 years ago, and they said ban water. And then you guys are going to go out, and you're going to get them to say ban sodium chloride and
carbon dioxide,
yeah.
What you breathe out. Of course, the EPA's on board with that.
No, they are.
And
yeah,
that's just as ridiculous as banning water if you stop and think about it.
Well, the plants would die. They've done the ice core samples. The lowest ever recorded are carbon dioxide. Plants grow faster, healthier. There's more oxygen. Humans live longer.
Absolutely.
It's almost like the Earth's losing its atmosphere. They think all those A-bombs and stuff they detonated, the U.S. military in the 60s, the upper atmosphere may have blown holes in the atmosphere. But that's good. Just say the atmosphere is bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, just kill everybody. Kill babies. I mean, your kids don't belong to you.
No, and I saw the tweet. I think we posted on Infowars.
She goes, Jesus says I love you.
Which I'm sure he does love her, but I mean, regardless,
it's just a flippant thing.
Your kids belong to the collective now. It's like you're joining the Borg.
And then you're not allowed to even criticize it. She goes, I forgive my enemies.
That is nothing new, though.
That's a Ford Foundation deal where they go, I'm with Jesus.
Yeah, but I mean, that whole thing about, your kids belonging to the state, that goes all the way back to Plato's Republic.
Oh, yeah.
He wanted absolute control over everybody, and he wanted to destroy the family. He didn't want anyone to even know who their parents were so the state could completely control them. That was his prescription.
And that's what North Korea's done. And then some guys accuse me for talking about the allegory of the cave that I support Plato. That's how dumbed down even pseudo-intellectuals are. If I go, it's like Plato's allegory of the cave, which is a really good allegory, then I support Plato. I mean, it's just like, I never knew I was that smart. You guys feel like you're super smart or just normal. The general public's a bunch of idiots.
I don't know. Do we have the calls?
Absolutely, Jakari. Look at that. Jakari, which means friend of callers. Let's go to Dean in Virginia. Thanks for holding her on the air. Hello, Dean. Good thing I didn't go to him. He's not there. I wanted to hear what Dean had to say. John, are you there up at the network? Yeah, we've lost talkback to the network in Minnesota. So that's what that reason we may not be able to take callers. So, see, it's magic. Again, Genesis, can you hear me? Have we even been off the air a while, or who even knows what's going on? All right, yeah, we're reconnecting with the network. And I want to hear what you have to say, Dean, so don't oh, the call system is locked up in here. So that's why we got to keep scanning like we're air traffic controllers. Scanning, scanning, scanning.
Let's talk about this constitutional sheriff stuff. I mean, you know, we need to get behind these sheriffs. We need to have someone who is going to stand with the law. And, you know, we don't need the Supreme Court to tell us what the meaning of not be infringed is. We pretty well can understand that. Yeah. And, you know, going all the way back to when this first idea came out here, Marbury versus Madison, that was where they established the fact that they were going to have the Supreme Court review all the laws. That was not an established fact. Jefferson attacked that from the very beginning and said, if you do that, you've turned the Constitution into a suicide pact. Let me read a quote from him. He says right here, in denying the right they usurp of exclusively explaining the Constitution, and he's saying that the Supreme Court should not exclusively explain the Constitution, he says, intending to establish 3 departments, coordinate and independent, that they may check and balance one another, it's been given according to this opinion, that is Marbury versus Madison, to one of them alone, that is the Supreme Court, the right to prescribe rules for the government of the others, and to that one too, which is unelected by and independent of the nation. In other words, these are politically appointed judges that are going to stand over and have final say-so over every law. And Jefferson said that was not the checks and balances that we had for the federal government. Certainly isn't the checks and balances that are there with the people and with the states. And that's what the 10th Amendment is about. It says rights that have not been expressly, or powers that...
Yeah, hey, hold on one second. I got to be engineer on air, too. Hey, guys, I've lost connection to the network, and I guess I need to get some intel on that. What's going on, network? We're being hit by denial of service? All right. All right, well, I just want to get on the phone with you and make sure that was happening. All right, I'm engineer, too. All right, thanks. Wonder why we can't go to the phone calls. Go ahead, sorry.
Well, the bottom line is that, you know, what Acevedo was saying when he attacked the constitutional sheriffs was he was saying, you know, you have to do everything that the Supreme Court says. Well, the Supreme Court and everyone at the federal level is subordinate to the Constitution. And
so what if we got a gang of 9? What if a foreign government got kids like sleeper cells, which is why we said you had to be natural born here to be president. That used to happen in Europe. What if you got a Manchurian Supreme Court that then said you have to sacrifice your children on their 5th birthday? Oh, well, that's the Supreme Court. Let's do that. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, which never fully got enforced, i.e. slavery and stuff, until people did enforce it. Right. You see? People say the Constitution Bill of Rights failed because they hate it because it's the best thing ever created in history.
And talking about the Bill of Rights, there's a lady, I'm not sure if we have it in our clips or not, but she had a sign that said, what amendment protects our children from the Second Amendment? You know, I'm like, how many times have you been saved or somebody in your family has been saved, or even if you didn't know it, just because, let's say a police officer comes up, they're not afraid of the police officer, they're afraid of the gun on his hip. You know, that's why when the police officer pulls out the gun, the people start running. But, you know, for some reason, it's the Second Amendment's fault.
Yeah.
All right, folks, we've got like triple redundancy backed up to the network up in Minnesota, but occasionally one of the connections cuts out. We're not aware of it. So that caller was probably there on air going, hello, 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 and I'm just sitting there going, ooh. So we're going to come back. All right, sorry for the call problems. We're going to go into overdrive a little bit with the nightly news crew, and then we'll be back tonight. I'm hosting the news, but you guys are doing some of the interviews and reviewing some of the great films that are coming in on the $115,000 Paul Revere contest we're running. Don't forget, folks, we take the money that comes in here to get crew, research, films, to fight the globalist. We want to win. That's what we're after. What makes our boat float? Fighting tyranny. I mean, because the tyrants are a bunch of crooks. I mean, if you don't have an instinct to fight them, something's wrong with you. And so buy the books, buy the videos, buy your storable, high-quality seeds from us, your high-quality storable food from InfoWarsStore.com, the great eFoods Direct products. Buy subscriptions to the magazine. Makes a great gift subscription. Get a 1-year subscription, 12 issues, give it to your police department. Just put their address in there, pay for it. Boom, it includes shipping. Buy them in bulk of groups of 10 up to 100. Big color glossy magazine with the most hardcore articles of the month and a lot of original graphics and articles as well. The latest issue is the hoax issue, exposing all the government hoaxes. Kent in Mississippi, then Paul, Mark, and Sean. Kent, thanks for holding. You're on the air. Welcome.
Alex, how you doing?
Good, sir. Welcome.
All right, I just got a couple points I just wanted to make. Just been awake for a few years now, and I go to work every single day preaching, trying to show people just search engine, Operation Northwoods, Gladio, Ajax, etc. The UN, David Spangler. No one will enter the New World Order without taking a Luciferian pledge. Why can't people understand? AKA the New World Order. They're taking over the planet.
I've gone to the congressional record seeing these famous quotes, and they're in there going, "We will have to pay for the New World Order in blood. We pledge to Lucifer." I mean, these people are crazy.
Well, let's look at. I was just going to say, you made that montage. I think it was last week or the week before, and people keep saying there's no New World Order, and you lined up all these clips showing that all these people have called for a New World Order or a world government,
which defines it as a world government.
Yeah.
And then Joe Biden goes, "I want a New World Order," but it doesn't exist.
Pretty much.
Well, let's look at the UN Arms Trade Treaty. This is something that they've been planning for quite some time. They had this coming up for a vote in July, but they were still really getting hit with this Fast and Furious scandal, right? So they pushed that and they said, we'll do that after the election.
And then they ran the false flags.
Right.
What does your gut tell you about Sandy Hook and Aurora?
Oh, I think it's false. Yeah, I think they're false flags. The timing was just too suspicious. They did that 1 week exactly before they were going to have the UN vote.
Well, they should have gotten better actors, too.
Yeah, it did. It didn't really.
The worst actors I've ever seen.
It didn't really overcome the narrative and the news that was going on with Fast and Furious, because the Republicans were really hitting that for political gain just before the election. So they said, we're going to come back after the election. So abruptly, I was up there at the UN. We were filming just for this very issue with another group, and they pulled it out abruptly. Like 2 days before, they said, that's it. We're going to come back after the election. They came back the very day of the election, and they were ready to do this in the lame duck session if they needed to. But because Obama and the Democrats were having a good election, they said, we're going to revisit this in March when they've got even stronger.
And magically, what came next?
Yeah, and the thing about Sandy Hook is when we went out to the this recent rally, we were asking Acevedo and even some other people, and Sandy Hook was the thing that nobody really wanted to talk about. Every time we brought the question to someone's like, well, I don't know too much about that shooting. I don't know too much about that shooting, but I'll tell you about Virginia Tech. I'll tell you about the Aurora shooting. I was like, why doesn't anybody want to talk about Sandy Hook when it's the new thing that's pushing the new agenda out there?
Well, I mean, most of those people, because I've been to literally, let's not exaggerate, 20 of the 10 bureaucrat marches. And, I mean, it's all either kind of mental patients they bring along, or it's government workers, or it's actual globalist agents.
Oh, yeah. And I think the reason they didn't want to talk about Sandy Hook when they're pushing their registration agenda, I mean, this is the guy who, regardless if you believe the official story says that the guy stole the firearm from his mother. And they don't want to talk about that. Can you say, well, if you get stricter background checks, how's it going to stop a guy from stealing a gun? They don't want to bring that up. And I think that's
incredible. Infowars Nightly News, 7 o'clock Central tonight. I'm hosting it. These guys will be in there with more news and commentary. But we're going to go to Overdrive, and I promise I'm going to shut up and go to Mark and Sean and Paul and Ron and a few others. Ron in New York, the retired cop. I need to call him. He's got some good intel for me. I got his number in my cell phone. I haven't called him yet. We'll be right back. Stay with us. We're doing a couple segments of Overdrive here. Some stations carry it. For years, I did a 4th hour. Went back to 3 hours so I can do the nightly news. Let's go to your phone calls. Sha'Carri Jackson's in here with us along with David Knight. And in the next segment, let's talk about one of our new reporters in the report that's coming out tonight. This is pretty hilarious, but also pretty scary, pretty bombshell. Let's go to Mark in Pennsylvania. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Guys, get your pen and paper. I'm calling you from Philadelphia, but I'm originally from Missouri, southern Missouri, Springfield to be precise. There's something happening in Missouri right now. A couple of guys put together a Second Amendment Preservation Act. It's House Bill 436, Senate Bill 325. And the 10th Amendment Center is calling it some of the most powerful legislation to come from any state in a long time concerning the Second Amendment, but also related to the 10th Amendment, and here's why. Effectively, if you read the detail of the bills, it effectively nullifies the Firearms Control Acts of 1968 and 1934. I've been trying to get the word out to as many people as primarily Missourians to let them know to call their representatives, call their state senators, and hammer this down, because this could be breakthrough legislation not only for Missouri, but for the rest of the states to follow suit.
Sounds good to me. I mean, look, I called for the Second American Revolution 6 months ago, and I said it'd be a states' rights movement, not to destroy the Republic, but to recapture the Republic and then re-upload it. It's like we got to kick the virus out and then re-upload the software.
Exactly. It's what we were just talking about before. We've got to get behind constitutional sheriffs, and we've got to get behind state legislators who are going to stand for the Constitution, and more importantly, are going to stand for our individual rights, which transcend even the Constitution. The Constitution recognizes
it. Only points out, like the 9th Amendment says, hey, all rights not listed here doesn't mean they don't exist. I mean, it's
yeah, that's the thing. They want to make your rights a privilege, as David keeps alluding to.
Absolutely, man. That's a great point, caller. A great point, Mark. I hope that you'll, and don't just count on us to know about something. Shoot a YouTube video. Mm. Yeah, it's like the Veritas Project guy said, very successful targeting the globalist. And he said, look, we need other people to do this. This is what's going to beat them.
Right.
And we need to just, Obama's like, swarm them. I need you to help me get the guns. That's because they don't have the people. I mean, literally, Obama's supporters on average, and again, I'm not a Republican. Republicans act like they're constitutional, have a lot of better ideas, but they're sold out and controlled. With the Democrats, I mean, you've got to be really dumb to want to be a communist. I mean, you've got to be really dumb to, and I think these clips get thrown away after you use them, like that state rep. I mean, these people are really dumb. What do you do when idiots are running things?
Well, half is, well, I won't say half, but a good portion of his supporters aren't even real, because we've shown those reports about how the Twitter followers and all this other stuff is cooked up.
70+% of Obama's are fake.
Yeah, so, I mean, they're not all there, but they get people like these mom groups every now and then to go out there and do a little dirty work for them.
Well, we'll check those out. That's Missouri, and it's House Bill 436 and Senate Bill 235.
Absolutely, Mark. Anything else?
Well, I just also a friend of mine put together a website. It's 1776trumps1984.com, and you can find out more information. People can go there and download the flyer. They can pass them out. It's a pretty neat flyer. It's got a colonial guy with the AK-47.
I wonder where you thought of that. 1776 Trumps 1984. I love it. We ought to come up with a weird card deck that has like stuff like that on it. Not just here's the bad New World Order guy, but like funny stuff, you know. All right, brother, good to hear from you. I'm going to check that site out. And again, please, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to break, come back and do another segment with your calls for Sean and Ron and Paul and Alex and everybody with our guest host here. It's fun having you guys ride shotgun with me.
Yeah, it's an interesting day.
A day long remembered. We've seen the end of Kenobi. We'll soon see the end of the rebellion. All right, I'm going to stop it. I get a little dingy, Jakari.
I know.
Can you imagine someday, Jakari, not even knowing you're on the air, not even caring?
I can see that day coming, yeah.
I hear the train a-coming, it's rolling around the bend, and I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when. I'm stuck in Folsom Prison. This is CNN. Closed caption provided by Bell Atlantic, the heart of closed caption communication. You guys were saying, can you really do a Darth Vader?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I can probably really do it. Don't act so surprised, Your Highness. You weren't on the Mercy mission this time. Several transmissions were beamed to this ship. I want to know what happened to the plans they sent you. This is a diplomatic ship. You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take her away.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just having fun.
Spot on.
Why not have some fun while these gun-grabbing bastards are running all over us, lying to us? You know what makes me the maddest? If they said, we are here to enslave you, lay down your arms or we'll kill you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then we'd organize and defeat them. Instead of saying, we want to be your friend. No one wants to take your guns. Well, okay, this little bastard's got us as we can. Oh, hi, we're your friends. I mean, I'm like, I'm sick of these people.
Yeah, I think we all are.
Yeah. And that's what we saw at this rally. That's what we saw everywhere at this rally. I don't want your guns, right? And then we had the one Martinez said he did.
And then everybody cheering. It's like, yeah, if we can get the guns, we'll take them. Yeah, we'll take them.
Yeah.
And they want to live like Chicago or New York. They love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But let's understand that they're talking about taking due process from people right now with these registration bills. They're going to take that due process and, you know, quote unquote felons. Okay, people who let go of balloons.
It's like, oh, just felons, and by the way, get ready to process them.
Or even people who are alleged to be felons, like Antonio
Bueller.
Yeah. Sorry, I keep losing his last name there.
No, he said everybody always makes fun of him and goes, Bueller.
Yeah.
Bueller from the Ferris Bueller.
I mean, that's what it looks like if you look at the guy's name.
I know. Everybody I know says you pronounce it Bueller, but he goes, no, it's Bueller. So it's like potato patata.
Right.
But he got
it's like Brett Favre is really Fabergé or something.
Well, not that fancy, but you're on the right track.
But Antonio Bueller didn't cave. And he started an organization here in Austin, too. So, I mean, you know.
No, he's taking action. I admire what he's doing. I was being sarcastic with him. I think he almost thought I was being serious.
Yeah, no.
I was in here teasing him.
But we need to realize that the guy that was the antagonist in this story, where he was unjustly persecuted, was our own Art Acevedo. The guy who's saying, don't worry, you've got nothing to fear. We got peace. Right?
Well, that's why the feds like him. They're like, wow, look at this guy.
Yeah.
He's like, never mind this knife. I'm sliding into your freedom. Oh, isn't that? See, it's air conditioned. It's cold blade, isn't it? And your body's going to be cold here politically real quick. Let me just draw this razor across your neck, America. I'm nice. I don't want it to be Cuba. I want it to be a new authoritarian state I run. That's Art Acevedo.
Meanwhile, we got families that have to escape to Cuba now in today's America, right?
Yeah,
this is last week.
Because Cuba doesn't like to CPS your kids unless you really abused them.
That's right.
It's like we've outstretched them. Okay, let's go to calls here. Let's talk to Sean in Canada, then Ron in New York while I'm gibbering. Go ahead, and Paul and others. Go ahead, Sean.
How you doing, Alex? Great to talk to you. I'm a longtime listener, recent Prison Planet TV member, political science graduate, and thanks to you, I graduated with a stellar average. You really invigorated my interest in politics.
Most impressive.
Well, God bless you, man. Before you, I thought, you know, history had been written, and like so many people, I thought we were at the end of history in a way. You know, there was nothing new to discover. There were no secrets, and everything was hunky-dory. And it's just, you've opened my eyes to a whole new world, and it's
well, that's what I love to hear. I don't wake people up. We're the opposite of a cult. Cults tell you this is how it is. You must only believe this. We say, open your eyes. Look at this. And that's what will defeat the globalists. Because the New World Order is a cult. You've got to buy into their delusional lies. Go ahead, sir. What was your comment today?
Tell you. Sorry?
Dispense with the pleasantries.
Oh, yes, excuse me. Sorry. So, yeah, so I live in Canada, and it's just, you know, I'm a huge constitutionalist. I mean, like I said, I got my degree in poli-sci. I lived in New York City. I have family in America. I love the U.S. Constitution Bill of Rights. I think it's the greatest document that the world has ever seen written by men. And, yeah, I try to reach out to everybody. I tell all my friends. I talk to my friends, and everybody is just so close-minded, trusting, and naive. And they cannot wrap their heads around the fact.
Well, remember,
that
zombies have never, well, these are people brought up to television. They just kind of are in a daze, literal brainwaves now. And so they're tuned in to suspended disbelief. So it's like like the light. They're like, scary. They think of it as work. They haven't taken it personal yet that they're being enslaved. But it doesn't matter. It's always a minority that doesn't want to be enslaved and that stands up. So don't feel bad, because some areas you run into, the majority's awake. And then you run in another area, believe me, you're not a public figure. If you were Alex Jones, and it's not bragging, hey, I'm a big shot, everywhere I go, people come up. I mean, you've seen it. I mean, now to the point of, like, I can't even go on the hike and bike trail. Like, I can't go to Barton Springs. I can't go to Mexico. People come up to me. And believe me, folks, they're out there. That's why you should wear an Infowars.com T-shirt, because then you'll meet like-minded people, plus it funds the operation. Go ahead, gentlemen.
Well, one of the things is, when you look at these articles from CNN and other places, they don't usually have a reference to the other documents. When you look at an Infowars article and we talk about something like ammunition purchases, we're going back and we're linking directly to those purchases so you can see it for yourself. You know, you can Google it. You don't even, you know, we've got the links there so people can see documents, and they still deny it.
Every year in August, they have articles in every local paper. I read them this year, or now I guess last year, saying, it's the law. You must take the vaccines, and there's no side effects. No links, obviously it's a newspaper, no bibliograph, according to such and such. You go online, the same thing on the newspaper. You go to our article, hundreds of university links, how it's going to kill you, the copy of the insert.
Right.
I mean,
I don't know, they just like to say stuff about it. It's like, I believe it was a couple weeks ago, somebody wrote a hit piece on you. They said, Alex Jones has reported that TSA hires defrocked priests. And, like, we have the article, it's on Infowars right now, but they didn't link to that. They claim that you made that statement, but did not link to it. And that's the kind of things that they do.
Well, even Patriot groups 10 years later ago, Jones claims he has footage of FEMA teaching the Founding Fathers are bad. I have where it was, Kansas City, the video, and the manual, and news articles about it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
We show those clips.
They want to call us paranoid. They want to say we're making stuff up. Bring it on.
Well, I mean, look at this right here. Time columnist warning others about government oppression is anti-American crap. They cannot have a debate about how this is an authoritarian takeover.
Right.
They want to label cyanide mommy's milk. Sean, anything else?
I just, I wanted to say that every single legislator involved in voting for these bills and whatnot, in trying to institute gun control, is literally committing treason. I was reading an essay by a constitutional lawyer that I got off OKeepers. I've joined them as well.
No, I mean, it is treason. It is sedition. Yeah. I don't get up here. Look, it's criminal to knowingly get up there and lie and try to register guns with a plan to confiscate them. It is organized government fraud. That has a name, tyranny. Thanks for the call. Ron in New York, then Paul in New Jersey. Ron, you're on the air, sir. Is this the retired cop that gives me so much good info?
Yes, it is.
And by the way, I'm going to try to call you today. I know I got your number and you've got some inside intel. I've been meaning to call you. I've just run out of time. What's your point on the orgy of evil you've been seeing?
Well, here, case in point, in the state of New York, the other big shoe is dropped. We've now had the first case in the state of New York where the state police have ordered the seizure of somebody's firearms who's a pistol permit holder because he has some months past taken medication, a psychotropic medication for anxiety, even though the man was not deemed dangerous or mental defective or anything of that nature, has a completely clean background.
They push it on you like drug dealers at a schoolyard, and now they're announcing, that's our article you're talking about that's on Drudge, that they're coming for our guns. And look, thank God I've never been on anything. I mean, I had a surgery and didn't want to take the opiate pills because they made me sick. Mm-hmm. You ain't got nothing on me, dirtbag government. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Ron.
Something they had absolutely no legal right to do. This is the suspicion that the police cross-reference a list of pistol permit holders with what we have in New York State, and you'll soon have in the nation with Obamacare, a medical prescription database. That
no, that's in there, and it was for the gun confiscation. They're going to declare us all mentally defective.
And what Ron just described is exactly what Acevedo wants to do here in Austin, in Texas. Mm-hmm.
But, we're supposed to like it, and we're conspiracy theorists. Even though the mayor pro tem is up there saying, we'll get your guns. I'll get you registered and your little dog, too.
Pretty much. I just got an email the other day from a guy. I can't remember where he was, but he said he called his mom talking about he was mildly depressed because he lost his job. And then the SWAT team showed up at his house, demanding that he come outside and turn in his firearm.
This happened to G. Gordon Liddy's producer like 15 years ago. She like answered a survey or something that had her address on it and got put in for like a month. You know, gorgeous model, producer, you know, famous, and just they wrecked her life. This is the secret police. This is an industry that wants. They're not just going to CPS little kids. Mm-hmm. They're going to CPS adults.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's their cult. They had a Democratic Party operative in Psychology Today write a big cover story about how I'm insane. Yeah, insanely free, insanely alive. You're insanely politically dead. You're a pathetic creature. And he says I'm mentally ill.
Well, that was always a tactic of Stalin and other dictators to say that people were insane and to commit them without any due process, because people will stand for a lesser due process if you accuse somebody of being insane or you say that they're on a dangerous drug, and yet we want to put the people who are prescribing these dangerous drugs in charge of determining who is sane.
Well, there is a cult of white robes. Mm-hmm. You know, the court, in your pleadings, you worship to it, you pray. For the folks that don't know, you pray in the pleading. You start praying in pleadings, you start winning. All these modern lawyers don't know it's about worshiping, the court. It's a Roman court, basically, is what they've superimposed over our common law. So you worship the judge, you pray to the judge, you pray to the court. You can even throw some more stuff in there, and they'll really get excited. Because it's like ancient commands. But the whole point is, I don't know why I even went off into that whole story, is that now it's not even going to be courts. They're just going to take your guns.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
That's what they want.
Ron, anything else you want to add?
Yes, there's quite a bit else I'd like to add. There was now with the UN Arms Treaty, okay?
We're going to skip this break. Go ahead. We're going to skip this break. Go ahead.
It's immaterial whether or not they ratify that treaty, because the domestic laws that are presently being discussed in Congress comport with what is called for in the UN Arms Treaty.
That's why they're trying to get it through. But I've read the treaty. It points to the directives in other agreements. We've done countless reports on this that says the state can have government. The state can have guns, not the people. So it says we don't interfere with state rights to guns, but state is defined as the United States. Go ahead. Go ahead, David. You want to say something?
But the fact...
No, go ahead. Let Ron go.
The fact is, gentlemen, that whether they ratify that treaty or not, if this legislation that's being proposed and is supposedly going to be voted on in the U.S. Senate tomorrow passes, they get what they want. It's all the same thing in the end, and they know what they're doing. Now, another thing, too, that I've just about had it with, and I think it's time that we be brave enough to step up as men and say this, we are an insensitive beast, but I believe 5 months of mindless emotionalism thrown at me constantly, showing the families or so forth of Newtown is a bit enough. This is a social policy issue that should be thought through intelligently.
Well, they're waving the bloody shirt. I appreciate your call, Ron. They're obviously 100% shamelessly doing this. I mean, it's about making us the bad guys. Hitler demonized groups before he went after him. Every authoritarian does this. We're being demonized.
Yeah, I mean, and that's that's the most ammunition they have, is to just wave these kids, to bring the kids on stage and, hey, kids, what do you think about gun laws? I would really like Obama to ask, hey, kids, what do you think about these drones killing other kids in the other parts of the world? I really wish you'd ask those kids that.
Well, what Ron was saying about the UN Arms Trade Treaty is exactly right. I think that this has been the target all along, is registration. They talked about confiscation, and Feinstein is a master of misdirection. You know, she did that with the NDAA. She told people that she came up with a Feinstein-Lee amendment that said we're going to take out the bad sections of the NDAA that violate civil liberties and deny due process and turn this into a military court instead of a civilian court. And then they just removed it arbitrarily. You know, McCain.
Or then they come back and go, this is the new NDAA, we're going to restrict it, and then it gets rid of posse comitatus.
Right. So she's been involved in this kind of misdirection.
Let me treat that bullet wound. Boom, boom, boom. I mean, it's like...
She's been involved in this kind of misdirection before, and this is about registration. This arms trade treaty focuses on the transfer of weapons across borders. And they said the only way that we can do that is if we identify and register guns and gun owners.
That's right. The states have to agree to control the guns within their borders.
So just like Agenda 21, the UN comes up and they have this other, I can't remember right off the top of my head.
Legal framework.
Yeah, they create these legal frameworks.
UNIDIR.
Just like they do with Agenda 21, and then they have the individual countries enact this. So they're coming at it from both directions. They're coming at it with domestic legislation, and they're coming at it with the treaty, because they're not going to take a chance that they're going to lose on this registration. And if we say that we won because we beat them back from confiscation and all we got was registration, that was what they were after all.
Absolutely. And again, it's two-sided. They're not only trying to get us registered for confiscation, and a bunch of states already taking them, and home inspections and all this. Internationally, it's about not letting little countries get arms to protect themselves from the UN death force.
Yeah. Right.
And if folks don't know, the UN's the greatest mass murderers over time the world's ever seen. Mao has the highest number, then Stalin, and then Hitler. Well, I actually go Stalin, Lenin, Hitler. But the UN continually just is murdering, slaughtering, raping, lining people up, shooting them. But Angelina Jolie says they love your kids. Let's go to a phone call. Paul in New Jersey. You're on the air, Paul. Welcome.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Yeah, well, you're talking about Fast and Furious. Well, that's the guns for the drug dealers, our drug dealers. They give them... That's their supply. They give them the guns, and they shoot the people who are trying to stop them down there. That's when he shot the 200 Mexicans and one of our INSAs.
Well, I mean, it's actually, sir, it's actually in the thousands. They say conservatively 400. It's thousands and thousands of dead Mexicans with the Fast and Furious stuff. Hundreds here, at least 3 cops, Border Patrol and a cop. You're absolutely right. Imagine, it's not about Fast and Furious anymore and all those dead kids. It's about how Obama actually, and Holder and the rest of them, shipped the guns down there to blame the Second Amendment, and now they flipped it around and gone, oh, you know, the Congress won't even have a vote. Why are you doing that to the family? And it's so transparent. I mean, I watch the public, and they are just so timid and weak. I even see like big tough guys, you know, I'll sit there and watch people in public, and they're even insecure about what people think about them. I mean, you guys aren't like that. I guess because you're in the media and have gotten over it or whatever. I guess I got over it. But it's just everybody's so pathetic. I mean, it's like, it's so obvious. A bunch of slime is using these dead kids and probably ran the whole thing.
And the magnitude of the people that have died in these other issues, like you're talking about Fast and Furious and other places, even Obama's drone strikes. I mean, we point out the hypocrisy of all of this to, yes, it's terrible that these children have died. But to take these 20 children, why are their lives so much more special that we talk about that for months and months and months, and overturn our Constitution and ignore these other children who have died orders of magnitude.
It's a giant psych warfare operation, and it's backfiring. I can look at it politically, but also in my gut tell they're freaked out. And they're going to do some more shootings. That's the big problem. They could stage one any day now, and they've got all sorts of mental patients wound up right now with the guns, trying to get them to go into school.
And they keep saying the kids, and, you know, remember last year the big Coney 2012 deal, and like, we got to go in Africa and save the kids from this guy who's probably been dead for 10+ years.
Now hadn't been seen for 7, yeah.
Yeah, and then I think it was last week, the week before, they had the kid for the Free Syrian Army running around with the AK-47, throwing dynamite around, and nobody seemed to care about that.
No. It's like they're trying to give everybody multiple personalities. You have a personality that cares about violence and bad things, but they trigger it when they want. But then your other personality laughs at it. It's like, hey, we killed 1 million Iraqis over the last 15 years. It's terrible. I'm like, shut up, traitor.
Well, you know, part of it might be that if you kill 500,000 kids in Iraq with your sanctions and you say it's worth it, like Madeleine Albright did, people can't get their head around that. But if you get them 26 kids and you show the parents and you show the faces and you do it over and over and over again, now that's a tragedy.
You made me just think you ought to do a stand-up deal for the news tonight where, you know, like you point out her, what was it, on NBC going, I think it was worth it for 500,000 dead kids. And she's admired. When Zygmunt Brzezinski goes up on stage, he's a rock star because he's killed so many people. But what they admire is he did it by funding other groups. He brags in his books, I couldn't kill 30% of the Cambodians, but I funded the groups to get it done. And they're like, oh, that's really slick. Because them it's like English in pool or something. You know, it's like, ooh, and they admire, oh, you're so manly. It's like Richard Pearl, known as the Prince of Darkness one time, was in the New York Times. But they were saying how cool it was. He walked up to a bunch of women, good-looking women at a party. The guy weighs like 400 pounds, you know, giant black circles around his eyes. I mean, I do too. But the point is, he walks up and goes, I order strikes. I kill people. And even these evil women slaughtered the New World Order were turned off by the fact it's not cool to go, I kill people.
Right.
And that guy couldn't kill anybody, you know, with his bare hands if his life depended on it.
Right.
I mean, it's just a big fat wimp thinking killing people's cool.
And then we got his Republican counterpart, Kissinger, right?
Yeah.
The counterpart to Brzezinski. And WikiLeaks had a document leak this week that said, the illegal we do immediately, the unconstitutional takes a little longer. That's why they're dragging this thing out. They know it's unconstitutional, and it is. It's registration.
And plus, when they change the original laws, it wrecks societies. I mean, we're going to become like Mexico or North Korea very quickly. They get rid of this, nothing's going to work anymore.
Yeah, I don't think they realize that, though. I mean, you got so many people there, they're going off emotion instead of common sense.
Well, sure, the grassroots morons don't, but the technocrats do. They're all getting offshore islands with private security details.
Right.
I mean, this is how you destroy civilization. Tyrants destroy civilization. Rome fell from within. And it's just they have no vision. Even if... And these people are out of control. Alex in Illinois, last caller we have time for. Apologize to the loaded phones. Alex, you're on the air. Take us out.
All right, you can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, hello, Mr. Jones and friends. This is Alex from Chirac.
Transform and roll out. Sorry.
It's all good. I spoke with you regarding the bottom of the rabbit hole, and you gave a very eloquent, passionate response.
Yeah, that's on PrisonPlanet.tv if you want to see it again.
Yeah, I saw that under the rant.
The rant,
but I think the rabbit hole is akin to the abyss. When you look at the bottom of the abyss or the rabbit hole, you see yourself reflected. And with the modernized genocide of the individual and the motives behind these banksters and New World Order members, I think we must look to the problems within to solve the problems outside. Primarily, when is enough enough? Is it ever going to be enough? And what sins of human beings are causing this rot in the apple?
Now, you're a great caller. Listen to this. Stand your ground. Don't fire unless fired upon. But if they mean to have a war, let it begin here. And that was the militia captain, John Parker, at Lexington Green on April 19, 1776. Or was it 1775? The point is, I'm going from memory there because I can't see the quote up on Infowars.com. We have that front page image of the Oath Keeper. They were trying to block his sign.
Yeah.
And there he is. And that's why they were so freaked out by it. You know, stand your ground. Don't fire unless fired upon. But they're already firing in our water, our vaccines, our food. The war has already begun, to quote Patrick Henry. It's an info war. They want to make it physical because they're losing this one. Join us tonight, 7 o'clock Central. Get your friends and family to watch. 7 o'clock Central, Infowars Nightly News. It is your PrisonPlanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here on this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. Ladies and gentlemen, I have had my amazing crew working until late last night. Jakari Jackson, David Knight, Rob Dew, the amazing crew in here, Chris Alaniz and the rest of the crew, to bring you the information that we are going to be breaking down here today. We're going to analyze a Bloomberg gun confiscation rally and just analyze the lies, the fraud, and show the mainstream media covering up the rally, saying that once they register our guns, they're going to confiscate them, because that's the blueprint. We've got them handing out the fake signs that the news then claims are grassroots. They point at the signs and say, look, it's grassroots. Once you know the formula, the man behind the curtain, it's so creepy that we've got a city councilman that looks like the Hispanic version of Dr. Evil. I mean, Mike Martinez, another one of these guys that, you know, is a city union head, Capital Metro, light rail, scalping the citizens. And he says, listen, you guys got a sign out there saying don't ban the guns. Well, guess what? We're not banning them today, but what we're doing today will let us get that done. So that sign, you'll need that soon. And this is a guy who hangs around with Bloomberg. The Austin police chief was up there with Biden on TV. I mean, he's like one of the main sellout police chiefs, because most of the sellout police chiefs can't even hardly talk. They just sit up there and, you know, get more obese and collect their paychecks. Arte Zaveda is a slick guy, brought up by the feds out of California, federalizing L.A. He's one of their inside operatives. And now he's taken over Austin and trying to shut down the gun shows, everything. And then he comes over and confronts our cameras and says we're making stuff up. Nobody wants to confiscate guns. Hey, Aceveda, we got you, okay? And you say you want to come in studio? I can't wait. Let's go ahead and play, though, Mike Martinez, the Bloomberg frontman, mayor pro tem, saying, hey, buddy, to a guy, you got a sign about banning guns? By the way, they were muscling him, cussing at him, and bumping into him while he was there, and the police didn't go over, we have video of this, to the guys getting in his face, cussing at him, and bumping him, the pro-gun guy. They go over and muscle on him with the sign. That's America. Let's go to the clip.
Austin City Councilman Mike Martinez.
Thank you so much. I've got a proclamation on behalf of the Mayor and City Council that we want to present, but I want to say a couple of words, and I'll be brief. First of all, to the gentleman that's dying for attention, someone needs to inform
Germany. This is not the Chinese peasants who'd been under 5,000 years of tyranny. Strong, smart people, but always enslaved. This is America. This is the Republic, and you haven't chopped all of our huevos off. You haven't destroyed this country completely yet. There's over 100 million people who know who you are. This isn't just a republic, ladies and gentlemen. This is Sparta, if you want to use the 300 analogy. But it's not 300. It's hundreds of thousands in every state who are sitting back, watching what's happening, and everything's being confirmed for them, and they are locked and they are loaded. And I want to tell the Federal Reserve and the New World Order something. You are not going to get away with this. You may be able to kill Ron Paul or kill Alex Jones and wipe out the leadership. And the reason you haven't done that yet is because you know what that'll do. That'll energize us 110%. Okay? We're powering up against your revolution, against our republic. We're energizing. We're rising. That's why you desperately went for the guns. It's why you staged Aurora. It's why you staged Sandy Hook. It's your Gulf of Tonkin. You think you're going to get away with this just because you've got space planes with DU sabos, just because you've got cruise missiles, all that stuff is worthless against a population. Brzezinski's bemoaned it, your top tactician. You are designed to take down states. You're not designed to take down ideas. You've tried to take men down. You've tried to balkanize America. If you watch MSNBC, that is New World Order, Ford Foundation, Rockefeller Foundation, above the White House, it's panic zone. Everybody fight racially, attack white people. So blacks go out and attack whites all over the country. Then they cover that up. But because it's all, but then they want whites scared to create division at the same time as well. They are hitting the panic button, ladies and gentlemen, for racial division, religious division. But listen. That's why they're going after the guns right now, ladies and gentlemen, as a counter-offensive, because our offensive's winning. The Big Red One is rolling right into Germany, ladies and gentlemen. Battle of the Bulge. What was that, 1943, 1944? They're rolling in, and they're throwing everything they've got to stop us. They're already done. Their only hope is to convince you that you've lost. We have won. I know intellectually. I know historically. I know politically. I know with my street smarts. My whole life, God's been training me. I wonder why all this horrible stuff happened to me growing up. My whole life was preparation for this, ladies and gentlemen. Your whole life was preparation for this. And we're not buying into this. We see it. We know it. We understand it. We know where it's going, and we know the enemy. We know the enemy. We know the enemy. And they are a bunch of slime bags. They're not coming to take our guns. They're trying to steal our guns. They're not admitting they want our guns except in their own internal manuals when they slip up. They're coming to steal our guns. Mike Martinez, involved with the Bloomberg group, the Austin police chief, high level now in the Obama administration. So slick that I told people privately here, Arde Saveda, I said that guy's history in helping him take over major police departments in L.A., I believe that guy's probably deep cover fed. And if he's got the nerve to come in here, I'll talk to him. And now he's up there, not just with the other police chiefs, he's up there with Biden. He's up there with Obama. Up there because he's a good salesman going, we don't want your guns. All we want is to register them and to let, if a psychiatrist says, without any due process, take
that there is no gun ban currently. But because of the work that we're doing here today, we will make your sign legitimate shortly. So you hang on to that.
So because of the work we're doing here today, we will make that sign legitimate shortly. We're going to come back with my full report on that in the next segment, because I show clips of where they admit the plan is a total gun ban. Of course it is. Chicago, New York, every other country the globalists control, they armed to the teeth, paramilitary police, surveillance, helicopters, drones, just total pre-crime, domestic tattletale brigades. I mean, direct scripting of 1984. But as long as you call it liberal, it's A-OK. Now, the legislature of New York is calling for, and it's already happening, but they're calling for anyone who's ever been on any type of antidepressant drug, period, which they basically forced the military on, will have your guns taken. That's linked up in the middle column under Can Wiener Rise Again. Police confiscating firearms from people taking anti-anxiety medication. And then Time Magazine warning others about government oppression is anti-American crap. I thought it was the essence of America. And so I thought I'd dovetail that with all the real government oppression. And then we've got Jakari Jackson in studio along with David Knight with their amazing footage analyzing a victim disarmament tyrant Bloomberg rally, analyzing the enemy. Throughout history, there have been many cases where authoritarians take the restraint of the armed population as weakness instead of restraint, especially by the real warrior class in this country, not the fake warrior class that likes to oppress men, women, and children like North Korean soldiers. And the globalists are trying to convert America over to a system where the supposed warrior class does not protect the peace and defend the republic, but instead ushers in the enslavement of the people. And by any historical yardstick, they had a major university study last year showing the United States the 6th worst police state in the world. Though the United States has a paradox because there's still so many time-honored basic liberties and freedoms that were hard-won by the founders of this country and our veterans and others since then. There's always good and evil. There's always the control freaks. There's always the usurpers trying to take over. Just because they're always trying to take over, because they live off our tax money, they live off the monopolies that they can create for big business, just because they're always pushing, you don't give up. That's the eternal fight that every generation goes through. And this is going to be an unprecedented broadcast today. It is a very important broadcast. We're going to be focusing on the Second Amendment because the second wave since Obama's re-election of the attempt to butcher the Second Amendment is on right now. We are at a razor-thin margin in the Senate with them being able to pass national gun registration, shutting down private sales, felonies if you give your son or daughter a gun or they give you a gun, all sorts of harassment, the ATF being able to shut down gun shops and factories via color of law. The enemy is coming in with their greatest assault ever and will probably provocateur or stage another mass shooting very, very soon in one of the victim disarmament zones that they've created where no one can protect themselves and the children are trained to get in a fetal position to be executed to help with your guns. And then Martinez gets up and says, you see that guy with a sign over there who was silently standing there? So the people were like bumping into him and cussing at him. We're going to play the video up close of this with the cuss words beeped out. Then the police came over and got in on the Americans, on the citizens who were just there holding up their signs silently saying no gun ban. And Martinez says, hey, you that's dying for attention, implying they were causing the disturbance. While the police try to violate their First Amendment with in their little costumes, in their little Captain Hook outfits. We're supposed to, why don't you wear gold crowns? We bow down to you. And he says, we're going to play this when we come back, the whole report. He points at him and he says, we're not taking your guns today. But he goes, what we're doing today, we will then get your guns. I'll make that sign legitimate, so you keep that sign. You're going to need it. I mean, that's it. Imagine, it's not just that they want to enslave us. They're not an enemy army landing saying we're here. No, it's like Cicero said, the Roman philosopher and historian. The enemy inside that doesn't come with a banner openly unfurled is the plague. And, I mean, I've been around these people, and I've seen them, and they're crazed with the criminal energy. That's what it is to try to steal our Second Amendment and lie about it. With the criminal energy. And that's what makes me just like a dog when it sees a threat, just instinctively, because it's that energy. It's that evil energy. It's an evil energy. They are empowered with it. Rise against them. No, they want to divide us and demonize our liberties as if they're tyrannies. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the report on Mike Martinez, Austin City Council person, minion of Bloomberg, with the police chief. And what you're seeing is treason against this republic. It is sedition, whether he knows it or not. And he shows his inner knowledge of, we're going to get you registered, then we're going to confiscate. Here's the report.
Austin City Council member Mike Martinez.
Thank you so much. I've got a proclamation on behalf of the Mayor and City Council that we want to present, but I want to say a couple of words, and I'll be brief. First of all, to the gentleman that's dying for attention, someone needs to inform him that there is no gun ban currently. But because of the work that we're doing here today, we will make your sign legitimate shortly. So you hang on to that.
Alex Jones here for Infowars Nightly News with a gun owner emergency alert. We sent our reporters out to the Texas Capitol here in Austin to film the Mayor Bloomberg-sponsored event with the Austin police chief calling for the restriction of the Second Amendment, shutting down the gun shows, not having private sales, restricting, quote, high-capacity magazines. And City Councilman Mike Martinez, who's set to be the next mayor, came out and pointed at a man in the audience who had a sign saying, stop the gun ban. And he said, listen, buddy, you're trying to make attention yelling over there. We're going to play the clip here in a moment. He says, that's not happening yet, but once we do this, that is going to happen, to thunderous applause. Everywhere these collectivists have been in control, not just worldwide, but in Chicago, New York, and other areas, they've banned the guns. But first, they register them. First, they register them. And he says to them, hey, we're not banning your guns right now. We're going to do what we're doing now, which is registration, and then we're going to take them. The shooter get the maximum death rate while the SWAT team stands down outside so the mercenary group can exfiltrate out the back. Even if you catch them exfiltrating, it's in video of it. Or even if the Department of Defense is running the shooter in Colorado, you know, the general public just cannot get how criminal this operation is we're facing. This is a foreign banking takeover of America. And if you capture the United States completely, you've got all the drones, all the weapons, all the troops, all the aircraft carriers, all the cruise missiles, the new cruise missiles. The ICBMs are basically worthless, folks. The new cruise missiles that are the ultimate weapon in the arsenal on the record. I mean, we are the big enchilada. It's all, and they've got lots of collaborators, lots of arrogant egomaniac yes men that are ready to sell out, and they really think they can win a protracted war. They really think you're going to roll over and turn your guns in. Or they can just do like New York and 15 other states have done, start banning semi-autos, banning high-capacity mags, and then SWAT teaming and persecuting gun owners, veterans, setting up checkpoints on highways and doing knock and talks to catch gun owners with guns they haven't turned in, to then fill the horrible private prisons with the patriots of America. It's not going to work. Let me tell you what's going to happen. Okay, and it's already happening, and they know this. You're going to have cops dead all over the place. It's already happening. You're going to have cops with people that are fed up when you try to take their guns. People aren't just going to wait anymore in their house for you to come get the guns. Okay? These are combat-trained people. Everybody knows it. Okay? And it's going to start a civil war. And that's the plan. That's the false flag. And look, we've got now over 1,000 sheriffs coming out and saying it's tyranny, it's evil. So they introduce a bill that the Secret Service will have law enforcement power in the state of Colorado. They've introduced it in other states to arrest sheriffs. That's civil war right there. But it's not even a civil war. The federal government has been taken over by foreign banks. The sheriffs in some of the states realize that. That's why you've got judges in Texas, state judges, county judges, coming out and saying they're setting up martial law, they're preparing a takeover, a civil war, before Obama got reelected. If you're not getting chills, you don't have a heartbeat out there, ladies and gentlemen. So all of this is going on. All of this is happening. And look at these headlines. I want to show TV viewers this, radio listeners. Go to Infowars.com. Time columnist warning others about government oppression is anti-American crap. That's a quote. There is no oppression. There is no tyranny. And of course, they now admit TSA on the streets, warrantless wiretapping, the police state, the persecution of patriots. But see, they're scared of talking about the 2 billion bullets, the armored vehicles, or the fact that, well, you want our guns while you're arming to the teeth? That's the elephant in the room. That's why they're selling 30-plus guns on the instant check registration system a minute. That's why they're having 70 million guns bought every 2 years now on record. It's more like 100 million. Because it's over, folks. Don't you get it? This isn't Russia with a bunch of poor peasants that never had freedom under the czars. And then a bunch of commies come in and take over and just have a slaughterhouse. Not that the Russians aren't tough people, but they were always under bondage, so they never had a leg up. This is not Nazi Germany. Sure, the Germans were tough and smart, but they were subservient. It's a German thing to do what you're told, to get in line. This is not Nazi